Well, welcome to TPUSA Live. I am Jon Root, and sitting next to
Isabel Brown, and we are so excited to bring you another 3 hours of live content from TPUSA HQ in Phoenix, Arizona.
Oh, it's going to be a great day, and I don't know about you, Isabel, but I'm feeling the spirit today.
Feeling the spirit, in the words of our mayor of San Francisco in our country. We are so excited. We've got a great lineup for you guys today. Tons of great shows and live content from right here at the live set.
Yeah, you know, if your religious exemptions aren't working, the spirit exemption, I heard, is taken off.
It's working. It's working well, you guys.
It's working in California, at least. But in the first hour of TPUSA Live, we have Poplitics. So, Hot Take Tuesday.
Hot Take Tuesday.
If you
guys haven't watched Poplitics already, this is a staple of my week. I'm not the biggest pop culture girl, I will say, but I've gotten really into Hot Take Tuesday because Alex Clark has some crazy opinions that she shares every week.
Yeah, and she also shares about a Victoria's Secret model that is actually speaking out against vaccine mandates, and Gisele Bundchen's got her back too.
I saw that. There's been several people come forward to support this supermodel's decision to speak out against mandates and allow people to make their own decisions. And between what we've seen with Nicki Minaj and now the supermodel community, I think there's going to be a lot more headlines coming out of Hollywood and the famous community, celebrities as we know it, against these mandates.
I think, like Nicki Minaj said, probably about 80% of the celebrities you follow
probably
stuff like this.
They're all super based, but maybe not as much
based.
as Nicki Minaj.
We brought it back, but hey, your show, Freedom Seeds, is going to be talking about the First Amendment. So, I mean, going off of that, like, free speech is under attack consistently. Tell us about today's episode.
It is, actually, and the majority of millennials and Gen Z alike believe that the First Amendment is completely outdated, needs to be scrapped, and completely rewritten to deal with hate speech, whatever the heck that means. Whoever's in charge gets to decide.
Yeah,
exactly. There is no such thing, basically, is all you really need to know. But we are doing a deep dive on Freedom Seeds today about the First Amendment, why it matters, why it still applies to your life, and you can catch that during the first hour of TPUSA Live.
And that's a huge part of today's TPUSA Live is free speech. So we're going to talk about that not only in Freedom Seeds, but I know the second hour of TPUSA Live, we're going to be diving into that with the whistleblower, that Project Veritas video that's taken off, came out last night.
Crazy.
So we're going to break that down for you. And then also in Breakaway, we have World Series champ, Silver Slugger Award winner, got banned from Twitter, and actually this morning got taken off of Instagram.
Oh my gosh.
We're going to play a clip a little bit later about that, but free speech is a huge part of today's show. And then after that, you got Human Events Daily with our boy Jack Posobiec.
The man out of Washington, D.C. They're so excited to see what news he breaks down for us today.
So he's breaking down the Project Veritas whistleblower, like we brought up. Also, a federal agent was arrested at the Capitol rally and identified as a Homeland Security officer.
Back to the memes of the feds. I'm so excited.
And then also we'll be touching on United States Special Presidential Envoy for Climate John Kerry's wife reportedly has a very unsavory China connection.
Oh boy.
Ooh.
The tea will be spilled.
If that's not a cliffhanger, I don't know what is. But in hour two, we have some great guests. We have an awesome lineup. TPUSA founder and CEO Charlie Kirk's going to be there. TPUSA contributor, Poplitics, and the Spillover host Alex Clark. And we got TPUSA contributor Erin Elmore jumping on the show for the first time.
Rock star. We are so excited to have her here at HQ.
She's so great. And then also, you might have seen him yesterday, Seattle radio host of the Jason Rantz show. Jason Rantz is good to be with us. We're going to be talking about a lot of great stuff today.
All kinds of stuff. Everything from abortion to the Project Veritas content that is literally breaking the internet. It is incredible to me that even without Twitter accounts, James O'Keefe and Project Veritas are trending in the top subjects on Twitter. They have been for several hours. And of course, international travel for the vaccinated no longer being an issue coming into the United States, and even more.
And then in hour three, you got to stay tuned for Paige Roux. She's got Reloaded.
One of my favorite shows, honestly. I'm so glad that this has become such an important staple of TPUSA Live. There's been such a hole in content from young women talking about the Second Amendment and the most basic questions that we have about firearms, about protecting yourself, and even just awareness of your surroundings. Paige has done a fantastic job breaking all of that down, and you guys won't want to miss it.
Yeah, she's talking about how the left is aiming to ban guns, and she's going to shoot some guns herself. It's so badass.
They're so fun.
Yeah. Like, I just live vicariously through Paige. It's really, really fun. But right after that, shameless plug here, Breakaway.
Breakaway with Jon Root, the one and only.
With me, we sit down with Aubrey Huff, and I was telling you a little bit earlier, so we're talking about free speech and censorship. Obviously, Project Veritas, they're now being censored, and then we have Aubrey Huff that got censored. He actually sent me this morning.
Jon, you won't believe it, buddy. I can't, the timing, unbelievable. My Instagram just got disabled today. I mean, I don't get it, man. I got no reason, no rhyme or reason, no why. Verified account, had it for years. 285,000 people gone. So that's really gonna my business. Oh, well, it's time to take a social media timeout, I guess. Sorry, pal.
So the crazy part about that too is when we had him on the show, he was censored and taken off of Twitter.
Yeah.
And then now this morning when we have this episode with Aubrey Huff talking about social media, censorship, big tech, he's taken off of Instagram. Like, this is not a coincidence.
No,
hearing
it's
stuff
not.
like this, and it's hurting his business too.
Of course it is, and I think people forget these are real lives that they're messing with. When you take people off of social media, it's not just silencing their opinion, it's maybe impacting their livelihood, their source of income, how they're marketing their business, and even more opportunities for them moving forward. But Aubrey Huff really has been leading the way for professional athletes, speaking out for free speech, encouraging your own opinions, and going against the grain. He's done the rounds with all the Daily Wire shows, was on Candace recently, and now obviously has been here and will be on Breakaway later this afternoon. Hopefully, Jon doesn't roast me on Breakaway about beating me in fantasy football this week, because that's a whole nother conversation.
I'm not doing that later. I'm actually doing that right now.
Brutal. Free speech entitles you to do so, Jon, but it still hurts. Okay?
Oh, I'm going off. So Isabel and I are in the Breakaway Fantasy Football League, and your boy came out with the big W last night. I actually beat Isabel 161.
Oh, God, I hate looking at this number.
So Aaron Jones, he went off last night. If you watched Monday Night Football, that was the Packers, Lions. And it was so great to see. Like, obviously, I want to rub this in your face, but let's talk about the good stuff that happened in this game. Lambeau Leafs were back.
Yeah.
There was 77,240 fans in attendance to see Aaron Jones go off for 4 touchdowns. See the celebrity Jeopardy host, Aaron Rodgers / quarterback for the Packers, go off and finally look like the MVP that he really is. But it's great to see fans back. And a cool part of that game, too, was Aaron Jones not only went off for 4 touchdowns, but his father recently passed.
Yeah.
And he had a football necklace that had his father's ashes in it. And one of the touchdowns he scored, he lost it in the end zone. He talked about it in the post-game interview, and he was searching for it, and they're actually able to find it right after the game.
That's really cool. So, what a heartwarming story. I love
Yeah.
that. Love that football is back, and award shows are back too, Jon, but are they really? I don't think they're as successful as they have been in the past. The Daily Mail reported this week that the ratings for the VMAs averaged about 900,000 views. So they didn't even break 1 million views, which made it the least watched VMA awards to date. That's a 31% decline in the last year, and the 8th straight year of declines in viewerships for the VMAs. We're starting to see the same things with the Emmys and with everything else too.
And if you remember Ricky Gervais, when he was hosting the Golden Globes, that was such a great monologue. And obviously it's old news for some of you, but it always rings true when he talks about you have no position to be lecturing people on politics and about how they should be living their life.
My favorite line from that actually was when he went out of his way to say most of you have less educational experience than Greta Thunberg. So sit down and stop talking about politics, because you are not the experts in the room that you think you are.
And maybe if you stop, you'll start getting more viewership.
Yeah,
that's what it comes
absolutely.
down to. And then also, too, you might have seen the Emmys, or at least seen news about the Emmys. This came out. The LA County Department of Public Health told CNN reporter Oliver Darcy that the maskless Emmys were not in violation of the county's mask mandate because exceptions were made for film, television, and music productions, since additional safety modifications are made for such events. It's rules for
I
the...
wonder what they're calling the safety modifications for that event that kept everyone safe. Is it just because they are leftists? I don't know. Is that all of a sudden making you immune to COVID-19? I would be really shocked to find out. But go woke, go broke. We've seen all the ratings decline in sports for that exact reason. We're seeing it now for award shows. And now also for The View, who no longer has a single conservative voice on the panel. But you know who they are bringing on, Jon, is our vice president and the border czar, who will be making her first appearance on The View this week instead of traveling south to our border.
Yeah, that sounds like a good idea. Like, make a nice little
Naturally.
national TV appearance instead of going and checking out the immigration crisis at the border. She's really got her priorities in order.
Yeah, sit in the echo chamber instead of actually going to see the situation that is probably going to ruin our country as we know it if we don't get a grip on what's happening at our southern border.
And we're being told that they're going to talk about current issues connected to COVID-19, vaccinations, Afghanistan, immigration, voting rights. Sure, you can talk about it, but she needs to be at the border. You're the border czar. So, I mean, stuff like this, it continues to blow my mind.
Oh, it never ceases to amaze me, but truthfully, I don't even think they care what it looks like anymore. They know it looks bad, but they're the ones in power, so they know that they can get away with it.
Yeah. And then on social media too, some of this news came out that hashtag natural immunity is being blocked.
I saw
Instagram.
some of these posts. I don't know if you interacted with them on your Instagram at all, but if you click on the actual hashtag natural immunity, it says that the hashtag has been hidden from view for all users of the platform because it contains harmful misinformation.
And the crazy part about that too is like when you click on that hashtag, it says, are you looking for vaccine information?
No, we're not. We're looking for the opposite of vaccine information. Thank you, Instagram.
Yeah, and when you press see post anyway, that's when it says it's hidden from there. So you have to go through this
whole
like
long process to even get there. But I think that's just the beginning, truthfully, as we talk more about these vaccine mandates, how they're going to be impacting people's jobs, maybe even our ability to go on airplanes or travel state to state or leave the country. I think there's going to be a lot more specific censorship of this information through social media.
And then going back to sports too, I have to, I'm a big sports guy. It's Tuesday, and Breakaways coming out. Cole Beasley, he's been very, very adamant about speaking out against the vaccine. He did say, I'm not anti-vax, I'm not pro-vax, I'm pro-choice. And he did say to some Buffalo Bills fans that were trying to go to games in Buffalo that couldn't go, now they have a vaccine mandate there, that he's offering to buy tickets. So he actually got a tweet from a fan who was going to take their 10-year-old daughter to the game and said, hey, on the road, wherever you want to go, I will get you a ticket.
That's what I wish people knew about this conversation. Nobody is really saying, oh, never get the vaccine and just ban it from ever existing. That seems to be the narrative that the left is trying to fabricate out of nothing. But we talked all about that yesterday on the panel for TPUSA Live during Hour 2 as well, which you can go back and watch on YouTube. Nobody's advocating for one way or another, yes, mandate it, or no, get completely rid of it in society. We're just advocating for people to be able to make their own decisions. And that's ultimately what being a conservative and a free thinker and upholding personal liberty is all about, that you have the wherewithal to understand what's best for you and your family, and the government should never be the people telling you that.
Yeah, and especially too, what we talked about yesterday, of college football stadiums, they're packed. You got over 100,000 people there. We told you about Lambeau Field, that's got over 77,000 people, and people are being told you have to get a vaccine in order to watch your favorite sports team. And you have people like, this is a huge part of their life. I want to take my 10-year-old daughter to the game and enjoy watching Cole Beasley, Josh Allen, the Buffalo Bills, whoever they end up playing for that game. Now you're being told it's just medical segregation. That's what we're starting to see.
It absolutely is. This is going to be the new class system in our country, and we're already starting to see that in education, in the workplace, on college campuses. People who are vaccinated are treated incredibly differently than people who are unvaccinated, and I think this is a story we are going to continue to break down here at TPUSA Live for you every day as things are rapidly developing. I know the FDA and the CDC are constantly changing their guidelines and what their recommendations are to the government. So as long as these people are in power, we're going to have stories to talk about with it.
And another story we have to talk about, you heard about the Met Gala. And Aurora James went with Congresswoman AOC, and obviously we've talked about it at length, about the tax the rich.
The dress, the tax the rich dress of the year. Great irony, though, this fashion designer is actually hundreds of thousands of dollars in debt to the IRS. So let's talk about taxing the rich there, AOC.
Here's this breakdown. Aurora owes $103,220 in back taxes. She received over $41,000 in PPP and has legions of unpaid interns and owes over $62,000 in workers' comp. So that's coming from the Washington Post, breaking that news. The irony
never ceases to amaze me. Have you ever noticed that it's the people screaming the loudest that usually have the problem themselves? Like they're trying to deflect the attention away from not paying $100,000 in taxes to the IRS by saying we should just tax everybody else. It's crazy.
And it's just they're doing this stuff for photo ops.
Of course,
they're doing it for clout. And then luckily we actually have journalists doing the job. So that's why I can't wait to hear from Jack, and we'll talk about in Hour 2 about journalists actually doing their job like Project Veritas. They continually are telling stories that no one else will tell, and free speech, once again, is a huge topic today in all 3 hours of TPUSA Live. I'm really, really looking forward to that. And also tomorrow, we have a little bit of a change in Hour 2 of TPUSA Live. That is now going to be starting at 2 p.m. Pacific time, 5:30 Eastern time, changing it up just a little bit for you. So you're going to get me and a lot of great conversations with our guests on the couch. But coming up next, we got Poplitics.
We sure do. Get ready for the next couple hours of some awesome content for you guys. We're working very hard here at TPUSA to bring you the truth, to talk about free speech, and encourage you to always pursue that for yourself. Lots more to come.
Yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun. So once again, we have Alex Clark in the very first hour. She's got Poplitics, she got Hot Take Tuesday. In hour 2, we got, actually, I'm going to break this down. We got Freedom Seeds right after Poplitics, and then we got Human Events Daily in hour 2. A lot of great guests, going to be a lot of fun. Hour 3, you got Reloaded and Breakaway. I'm Jon Root.
Isabel Brown, and we're so excited to be with you here today on TPUSA Live.
Yo, bro, who got you smiling like that? Like,
Kill the lights, so baby, close your eyes. The way you're looking at me, you got me mesmerized. Something I can't escape.
My man said Jeffrey Dahmer, but make it fashion. We're starting off with a story that's going to give you even more hope today. Beautiful women speaking up against tyrannical government overreach? Oh yes. Cue Victoria's Secret Angel Edition. There's an update on that joke of a reality show I told you about, The Activist. Al Sharpton is ganging up on Nicki Minaj, and bonus stories you need to know with Hot Take Tuesday. I'm Alex Clark, and this is Poplitics. Nicki Minaj told us that 80% of celebrities probably feel the same way she does about the Jabba Juice. Maybe she's right, because Gisele Bündchen is defending another Victoria's Secret model, Dootson Cruz, over her choice to not get the Jabba the Hutt.
I have always thought Victoria's Secrets, they should sell britches.
Dootson, who's Dutch, a mom, and totally gorgeous, was a Victoria's Secret angel from 2008 to 2014. And she's also been in several Justice League movies. Moms really can rule the world. Anyway, Dootson said, "I will not be forced to take the juice. I will not be forced to prove my health to participate in society. I will not accept exclusion of people based on their medical status. Freedom of speech is a right worth fighting for, but we can only solve this united in peace and love."
This is a serious message to everybody watching my update right now. Peace and love, peace and love.
Obviously, this post made the Branch Covidians pop a gasket. So Gisele Bündchen actually stepped in to defend Dootson. She commented on the post, "I know Dootson and she is a kind and loving person. I can't believe the hate being directed at her because she expressed her feelings. It saddens me to see all the judgment and the lack of empathy in so many people's hearts. Hate is not the answer."
Pull up on me. Pull up on me. Pull up, pull up on me.
What's really eye-opening is how hard it is to say these women's names. Good grief. No, what's really eye-opening is that in a truly free society, what Dootson said is not controversial. We're just no longer a free society. George Orwell said that in a time of deceit, telling the truth is a revolutionary act. People like Dootson and Nicki Minaj are leading a revolution. They just don't realize it yet. And sadly, not all of their fans seem to realize it either.
Your dictatorship is about to come to an end. Woo!
It wasn't just the right who made fun of CBS for their new reality show idea called The Activist. It was the left, too.
what is it like where you come from?
People accuse CBS of being so out of touch and offensive for this show that they've scrapped the whole thing now and are just going to release a documentary instead. The Activists canceled The Activists when life imitates art, am I right?
You know, I know what you're doing right now, and I don't like it. So why don't you just shut your trap before I put my foot in it?
I guess they were supposed to have missions and challenges on the show. I just really want to know what those were going to be. Would they get dropped off in the middle of an Antifa riot and see if they could make it out unharmed? Would Michael Brown's mom make an appearance? What about Meghan Markle? Oh, and you know Greta Thornberry was going to show up in one of the first 2 episodes.
Popularity of cutting our emissions in half in 10 years only gives us a 50% chance of staying alive.
The entire concept for the show is proof of progressive privilege. What is progressive privilege? It's celebrities and leftists who love making problems so that they can solve them and become a hero because they're so desperate to be a part of change.
And I'm left out.
Hollywood needs to get a reality check and realize that social media whining is a microcosm of society. Stop making decisions based on Twitter trends, which represent a teeny tiny subset of Americans. Most Americans aren't even on Twitter. At this point, the only activist I want is one that's willing to push back against big government and tyrannical overreach. Everything else is small potatoes.
Potatoes?
They should have cast me. I'm an activist. A hot people rights activist.
Hey. I just want to take another look at you.
Speaking of activists, you know who Al Sharpton is, right? He's like the OG of the activists of the activists.
So in the words of my late friend Aretha Franklin, show some R-E-S-P-I-C-T.
Yeah, that guy. He's been around for decades and went on MSNBC to chastise Nicki Minaj after she called out Joy Reid for calling her out.
To name call Joy Reid, someone that I've known and have seen even before she came to this station. I'm not saying this because she's a colleague. I knew her in black radio in Florida 20 years ago, and she's put her career, her neck on the line to cover stories and bring things mainstream. That's across the line. I think that if people want to raise questions, fine, but leave the name calling out of it, particularly someone that has had the, in my opinion, the model example of journalism that Joy-Ann Reid has. There are two black women that have got to the top of their field. We don't need name calling. We need solutions as we see disproportionate people die in our communities and in every community in the country.
Does believing all women not extend to when women talk about any of their personal experiences? He said Joy Reid is the model example of journalism. Another question for you. Isn't the #1 indicator of a true journalist someone who puts the truth above all else? Joy Reid has still refused to tell the truth about homophobic posts made years ago on her blog. She claims she was hacked. Joy, you're the hack.
How original.
Nicki Minaj seems like more of a model journalist to me because she's willing to investigate and ask questions, which is at the heart of true journalism, is it not?
Will you be my Katie Couric?
Tap the heart button on this episode to support Poplitics. By the way, I have to tell you how much fun it has been reading your reactions and your reviews for the first episode of my new podcast, The Spill, over the last few days. Much love.
Thank you, America, and God bless you all!
The first episode with Luby's massacre survivor Susanna Hupp is out if you somehow missed all that. And all you gotta do is just search for The Spillover on Apple Podcasts and Spotify, subscribe, and leave a 5-star review. This Friday, we're gonna be diving into the phenomenon of teen girls coming out as transgender. Any guesses who that guest will be? Let me know in the comments. I'm so excited.
Yeah, I don't know.
It's Hot Take Tuesday, which means I run through some bonus stories that you need to know very fast and very furious.
Hot Take Tuesday.
A Russian chess champ named Nana something, another name I can't pronounce, is suing Netflix for defamation over the Queen's Gambit series because in the series finale, they mention her by name and basically say that she's a real person, but not as impressive as the character Beth because she never competed against a man, which in reality isn't true. In reality, this Nana chick beat some of the best male chess players in the world and was the first woman in history to achieve the status of international chess grandmaster among men, according to Breitbart.
12-го чемпиона мира по шахматам, международного гроссмейстера, заслуженного мастера спорта СССР Анатолия Карпова.
If they would have used a fake name, I feel like that would have been fine, but the problem is that they used her real name and then said something that wasn't true. By the way, the Queen's Gambit won 11 Emmys over the weekend.
Nothing can compensate for the long hours and low pay and miserable experience we've had making this movie.
One of the greatest heartbreaks of my life has been Mary-Kate and Ashley disappearing from public life. They were the fashion icons that shaped my childhood. I miss them.
We need a vacation.
We rarely ever see or hear anything about them now, but there's a neat update on Mary-Kate. She does fancy equestrian competitions, and Page 6 reported that at the Longines Global Champions Tour in Rome on Saturday, she ranked 3rd place for her competitive show jumping. Angelina Jolie met with Michaela Maroney and Aly Raisman and several other gymnasts in D.C. after they testified against the FBI for botching their sexual abuse case against Larry Nassar. Angelina said that she was on Capitol Hill to meet with senators about the Violence Against Women Act reauthorization and FBI reforms. Even if I don't agree, and I definitely don't, with Angelina on every policy she advocates for, I do really admire that she actually shows up and puts in meaningful work behind the causes she believes in. She doesn't just post stupid hashtags on her Instagram story and think that that's delivering justice. I think she deserves a lot of respect for that. Respect her.
RESPICT.
Last, and certainly least, Black Lives Matter is going to protest a restaurant in NYC that denied service to a black woman because she didn't have her Jabba the Hutt proof. It's all come full circle, people.
Well, well, well. How the turntables...
Support Poplitics and her cooler older sister, The Spillover, by liking this episode, subscribing, and leaving a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts. Leave a little bikini emoji in the comments if you support the former Victoria's Secret angel speaking out, and DM the show to someone who loved Mary-Kate and Ashley growing up. And don't forget to also tell me in the comments who you think the guest on The Spillover is going to be on Friday. We're back on Instagram tomorrow at 4 p.m. Eastern, 1 p.m. Pacific. It's pop culture without the propaganda every single day. I'm Alex Clark, and this is Poplitics.
United States of America, this great country of ours, we American Indians, we can be anything we want to be, except American Indians.
A lot of the soldiers were very aggressive, so the women did get raped.
What we call huelte. Huelte means a place of suffering, dying, starvation, nothing good. Just like the Nazi concentration camps.
I didn't realize how corrupt things were. I didn't realize what kind of environment we were living in.
We had no running water, we had no power.
They de-incentivize people from, opportunity.
That's why our suicide rate has climbed up astronomical rates.
I moved from the poorest county in America, the Pine Ridge Indian Reservation, to the richest area in the country, the Navajo Indian Reservation. There is no difference. The poorest and richest reservations in our nation suffer from identical problems. This is not anything new. This is an everyday occurrence in all tribal governments.
So my life and my tale and my truth has been to fight socialism. And I'm hoping that I can wake up as many Navajos as I can to tell them that you can do this. Yeah, even if I have to fight you to save you. And I think that's what I'm also projecting to my people. Even though they are so harsh on social media and they completely hammer at me, I tell them, I'll be here even if I have to fight you to save you.
Here's your daily freedom seed. Having the right to speak your mind, change your mind, and disagree with others is all thanks to one amendment. I would hope that each of us knows what the First Amendment is, but maybe you don't, or maybe you're not familiar with what the full extent of this amendment protects. Thanks to the protection of our rights guaranteed by the First Amendment, we can freely criticize our government, peacefully assemble, tell our stories, read the books we like, listen to the media outlets of our choosing, and attend a religious service or not. The list goes on and on. Sadly, a survey conducted by the Campaign for Free Speech found that 61% of Americans feel speech should have restrictions, and 51% say the First Amendment should be updated so that it's more relevant to today. Whoa. The First Amendment always protects the speech others may not like. That's the whole point. Think of all the times just today when you have said an opinion or engaged with information. That was your First Amendment in action, and it's a beautiful thing guaranteeing a free society that should never be restricted. I'm Isabel Brown, and there's your ammo to win America's culture war. No matter how many times we may hear about it, the First Amendment is as relevant today as it was hundreds of years ago. We all just want to speak our minds. If you love the First Amendment, don't forget to hit the heart button and share this with others. Hit save to add this episode to your arsenal of knowledge from Turning Point USA.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome aboard today's edition of Human Events Daily. This is your evening briefing. First up, a bombshell out of Project Veritas. Is HHS underreporting events in the VAERS database? Whistleblowers coming forward. Second, the Biden administration is out condemning Russia, of course, but for what? Election fraud. Isn't that interesting? Third, a federal agent, we talked about this yesterday, arrested at the January 6th promotion rally, has been identified as a Homeland Security officer. And finally, another huge story. The wife of John Kerry has millions invested in China-based investments. All this and more ahead. Human Events Daily. You know, this Project Veritas video, and it's been going viral. The full thing is 10 minutes. Go to their website, watch the full thing, but I wanted to pull out a piece of it that I thought was very significant to share with all of you. This is Jody O'Malley. She is a registered nurse, an RN, a federal worker in the Department of Health and Human Service in one of their facilities. This is what she heard. These are some of the conversations she's been having, and then you're getting her full analysis and her full opinion based on this for coming forward. And I just commend her. I commend her for coming forward and having the courage and the temerity to stand up for her beliefs. And you'll hear what she says. She says that she did this because she believes in God. But listen to this audio, watch this video if you have it. This is really shocking stuff, folks.
The CDC website, it says that you're required to report adverse events following vaccinations. Is there a policy at the hospital for reporting these complications? No.
There's never been any directive sent out on reporting. With this vaccine, we are in stage 3 clinical trials. Normally, stage 3 clinical trials is where you gather your data. What the responsibility on everyone is to gather that data and report it. And if we're not gathering that data and reporting it, then how are we going to say that this is safe and approved for use?
How come after 18 months we haven't had any research? Isn't that fishy to you?
It doesn't. It does. It is doesn't.
It's super fishy.
Not that it hasn't been done. It hasn't been published.
It hasn't probably been done because the government doesn't want to show that the darn vaccine is full of shit.
What does she mean by full of shit?
It's not doing what its purpose was.
And what is Dr. McGee saying in that video?
He's trying to defend the vaccine.
Why would he do that?
Because that's his view on it. Okay. His view is get the vaccine, it's science, right? If we all just get it, this will all be over with.
Such a bunch of bullshit.
What we're gonna have to do is we're on the inside.
And what do we do?
I don't know, but there's so much I'm gonna blow up.
So much. How do we do that?
Like, you know, Project Veritas.
Why are you choosing to blow the whistle? It's not what a lot of people would do. They're scared, they're afraid.
What prompted me to do this was when I was house supervisor one night, and one of my co-workers had taken the vaccine, and she didn't want to. She had went throughout this entire pandemic working in the intensive care unit. Pretty much was a COVID unit.
Yeah, it's really sad. She had just come back from surgery, from leave. 2 weeks ago, a little over 2 weeks. And then,
One of the biggest things that I hear people say when they say, I'm hesitant about the vaccine, is they talk about side effects, right? And they always get pointed to the VAERS database. But then you have people saying, oh, well, the VAERS database is not completely verified, et cetera, et cetera. But here's the thing. The VAERS database is where they are supposed to be making these reports. And yet we hear in this video that people are saying, oh, it takes too long, it takes 30 minutes to fill it out, et cetera, et cetera. Okay, that's a problem. They have an obligation as healthcare workers and as professionals to be filling this out because that's how the system works. You have to send that signal forward so that the companies involved in this and so that the government here can get that data and understand if these events are happening more or less, by the way, in terms of what's going on, that's how they can update what it says on the label. It can update what your doctor might know. It can talk about age ranges, and you can talk about these things like we're seeing more and more the heart inflammation and potential for long-term respiratory diseases. Again, we're going off what's said here. Now, right now, the only thing on the label is this issue of heart inflammation. That's the myocardosis. She is now talking, this is very significant, about the potential for long-term respiratory disease. That's not on the label yet. This may be, of all the things that Project Veritas has done, one of the most historic videos that they've put out. I really believe that, and I've been following them for a long time. James and the rest of the team, kudos to you, congratulations, thank you, and God bless you for your work, and God bless you for adding this to the conversation. And thank you as well to Jody for coming forward and having the courage to stand up for your beliefs. Stay tuned, we'll be right back here. HE Daily continues.
In these United States of America, this great country of ours, we American Indians, we can be anything we want to be, except American Indians.
A lot of the soldiers were very aggressive, so the women did get raped.
What we call huelte. Huelte means a place of suffering, dying, starvation, nothing good. Just like Nazi concentration camps.
I didn't realize how corrupt things were. I didn't realize what kind of environment we were living in.
We had no running water, we had no power.
They de-incentivize people from, opportunity.
That's why our suicide rate has climbed up astronomical rates.
I moved from the poorest county in America, the Pine Ridge Indian Reservation, to the richest area in the country, the Navajo Indian Reservation. There is no difference. The poorest and richest reservations in our nation suffer from identical problems. This is not anything new. This is an everyday occurrence in all tribal governments.
So my life and my tale and my truth has been to fight socialism. And I'm hoping that I can wake up as many Navajos as I can to tell them that you can do this. Yeah, even if I have to fight you to save you. And I think that's what I'm also projecting to my people. Even though they are so harsh on social media and they completely hammer at me, I tell them, I'll be here even if I have to fight you to save you.
This is your brain. This is your brain on socialism. Any questions?
Welcome back. Now, folks, I always like to say that the slogan, if we have a slogan here on HE Daily, is be good, be brief, be gone. But sometimes we see stories out there that pull up our righteous indignation and our ire. And we see things that are just not right in the world, and we have to condemn them. And so today, I am joining the Biden administration. I am joining the Biden White House in condemnation of Russia and the way they ran their corrupt election. I am 100% joining them. So here's my statement. I'm going to read this. I posted it yesterday on Twitter. I'm going to read it to you now. I strongly condemn Russia for adding millions of ballots overnight with no transparency in their election, for censoring opposition social media accounts, and for ordering repressive crackdowns on protesters who claim that the election was stolen. Russia, you are very bad for doing this. Furthermore, I'm going to read to you now from the Biden administration's specific, and look at some of these videos. We can see the videos out there. They're stuffing ballots. They're those dastardly Russians, just dastardly. They're blocking observers from coming in. Ballots added in the middle of the night. Very shady, very shady. This is obviously a diabolical plot that goes straight to the top of the Kremlin. And no, I don't mean the little onion, no. I mean Vladimir Putin himself, the head of the KGB. Listen to what Ned Price of the US State Department put out. This is, and you know, if there's children around, I just want earmuffs, right? If there's children around, earmuffs. The Russian government has used laws on extremist organizations. Imagine labeling people extremists and undesirable organizations, severely restricting political pluralism and preventing the Russian people from exercising their civil and political rights. Russian government restrictions were preceded, I know, just get the children out of the room, folks. They were preceded by widespread efforts to marginalize independent political figures, and they prevented observers from being allowed into the elections to constrict transparency that is essential to free elections. Ladies and gentlemen, I know this is nightmare fuel. This is straight nightmare fuel that I'm sending out right now. And I apologize. I hope you're listening to this in the middle of the day. I hope you have time to go to church or say a rosary in Latin, probably, because I know this is bad. This is bad stuff here. And now listen to how Axios reported it, because it gets even worse. I'm sorry to say, there is no bottom to how far Russia will go. The fiends of Russia will go. So here's the headline at Axios. The U.S. condemns Russia's election crackdown as Putin's party wins big majority. Listen to this. Major gains by opposition groups were erased Monday after the Electoral Commission added millions of online votes, a delayed count that drew calls of foul play for its lack of transparency. Ladies and gentlemen, no country can have democracy without free, fair, open, and transparent elections. Where did these ballots come from, Putin? Where did the middle of the night vote counters get all of this? How did they arrive? Digital ballots? Where's the chain of custody on that? You know, folks, I think I know what I have to do. I've been thinking about this. I've been praying on it. I know what I'm going to have to do. I now formally announce that I, Jack Posobiec, the host of Human Events Daily, I demand an audit of the Russia elections, a full audit. And Joe Biden, I know you'll support me in this, because auditing elections is the only way that people can have transparency to understand that their vote counted. We know that Russia has history of this. What was his quote, folks? Joseph Stalin, the famous quote. It's not about who votes, it's about who counts the votes. So we know that we have to be very wary of these diabolical Russian vote counters. So we absolutely and forcefully demand, sir, there must be an audit of the Russian election to ensure the future and the everlasting harmony of pure democracy in the heart of Russia. Furthermore, efforts to censor and ban organizations and independent political figures, labeling them extremists from pro-government organizations. This is obviously a Russian tactic. And if you see anyone using these Russian tactics inside the United States, well, you just have to tell yourself, they must be a Russian agent. Folks, the Russian infiltration is so huge. We're gonna have to call Mueller back. We're gonna have to call him back, wake him up. Mueller, you have got more work to do, sir. We've got so much work to do. Thank you for enjoying this very serious segment. We'll be followed up next, where I promise we'll have more real news. Stay tuned.
What if I told you that this has all happened before? The riots, violence, church burning, attacks on police, destruction of private property.
My name is Sammy Steigman. I am a Holocaust survivor.
This is the reality of what happens when you have capitalism that goes to socialism.
El socialismo no funciona. El socialismo no funciona.
You have to ask the question, how is the most heavily funded tribe have the poorest population?
Listen to me. My country is very because everything problem here. Don't have petroleum for bus and Cuban, for car, for drive, for nothing.
And it sucks. Socialism sucks. There's no other way you can describe it.
If you want to see an example of failed socialism, go to an Indian reservation.
A lot of the soldiers were very aggressive, so the women did get raped.
Muerte means a place of suffering, dying, starvation, nothing good.
I didn't realize how corrupt things were. I didn't realize what kind of environment we were living in.
We had no running water, we had no power.
They de-incentivize people from, opportunity.
That's why our suicide rate has climbed up astronomical rates. I think that's what I'm also projecting to my people, even if I have to fight you to save you.
This is your brain. This is your brain on socialism. Any questions?
Welcome back. Now, yesterday here on the show, we ran a story and we got some feedback on it. And I said that it looks like a federal agent, a federal law enforcement officer, was arrested trying to infiltrate or being undercover or doing something they shouldn't be doing at the Capitol rally that was held on this past Saturday at the Capitol. It was Justice for J6 rally. A couple congressional candidates spoke, a few people spoke, and a man was arrested with a gun. And the Capitol Police came out and said, there's a man with a gun and he's been arrested. But Ford Fisher, remember, that Ford Fisher footage, if he hadn't been there, we would have never known about this story. He got the footage. When that man was arrested, he had a badge. And we showed that on the show yesterday, and I remember there were people coming in, they said with feedback, they said, Jack, a federal agent wouldn't do that. This is clearly something, it was just a mistake, it was just, something else is going on here. AssociatedPressNews.com. I'm going to read this for you. Here's the way they put the headline. Federal officer arrested at Capitol rally won't be charged. Washington, AP. A federal law enforcement officer was arrested carrying a gun at Saturday's rally at the U.S. Capitol, billed to support the suspects charged in the January riot, but who will not be prosecuted. The 27-year-old New Jersey man is an officer with U.S. Customs and Border Protection. He was arrested by Capitol Police for illegally possessing a gun on the grounds of the Capitol after people in the crowd reported seeing him with a handgun and notified nearby others. His arrest and presence at the event were surprising because the rally was billed as an event to support those who have been charged in January's riot. The riot left dozens of officers beaten as some of the crowd of pro-Trump rioters armed with, they talk about bats and pipes and bear spray, charged into the Capitol and overwhelmed the force. But hold on a second, let's go back. A federal agent for CPB, which is under the Department of Homeland Security, was arrested. He wasn't there with DHS logo. He wasn't there with a shirt or a vest or anything like this. He was dressed in all black. So that's what you saw there. You know, I know there was this meme online and people were saying that, oh, there's federal informants, there's federal plants, there's this going on, there's that going on, right? And keep in mind, understand how this stuff works, folks, that a federal informant or a federal plant isn't necessarily, and usually isn't, a federal agent themselves or a federal officer. What they are people who are working with a handler. That's the way the system works. So that's an informant or a plant who's working with a handler, and the handler would be the agent, right? They say, Jack, you don't know what you're talking about. Yeah, I know a little something about intelligence operations, okay? That person then would go in, infiltrate the group, and potentially, as we saw in this Michigan case, would urge the group into more and more criminal activity. Then they would be able to roll people up by creating what's called a criminal conspiracy. Now, a criminal conspiracy means that you can't just be talking about doing something, you have to actually take what's called an act in furtherance of the conspiracy, right? My lawyer friends taught me that line. An act in furtherance of the conspiracy, an overt act. So in Michigan, what was it? It was surveilling the governor's home, right? They went on a ride and they were surveilling the governor's home. And so that everyone who was in the car then was arrested because they had committed an overt act in furtherance of the conspiracy for driving around taking pictures. Understand how these things work. Now, I don't know what that federal agent was doing there. I don't know if that was a person who was there just to see what was going on, as he said. I don't know if that's a person who went there because maybe he was looking to recruit people surreptitiously because he was trying to get information. We've seen, by the way, in the past that they will go into Facebook groups, that they will go into different online chat rooms and forums, talking to people under false names and urging people into action. So I'll just say this, people. Be very careful who you talk to at events. Be very careful who you talk to online, right? If you're saying something, just don't use that type of language. Don't use violent language. I know passions get hot sometimes and people get frustrated, but we have to remember to always be peaceful in public and in private. That's what we want for our country. Isn't that what we teach our kids, right? And so I know there'll be people out there and they'll say, oh, Poso, you know, you should be fired up. You should be wanting to do something. I do want to do something, but I also understand how this works. And I understand that if you become that person, then you yourself become susceptible to these types of operations. And you don't want to fall on that path. Don't go down the wrong path, folks. Stay tuned. Next up, huge story, China-based investments. John Kerry's wife. Be right back. Human Rights Daily.
This is your brain. This is your brain on socialism. Any questions?
If you want to see an example of failed socialism, go to an Indian reservation.
A lot of the soldiers were very aggressive, so the women did get raped.
Muerte means a place of suffering, dying, starvation, nothing good.
I didn't realize how corrupt things were. I didn't realize what kind of environment we were living in.
We had no running water, we had no power.
They de-incentivize people from, opportunity.
That's why our suicide rate has climbed up astronomical rates. I think that's what I'm also projecting to my people, even if I have to fight you to save you.
Find someone who loves you like high-level leftists love foreign investments. Ladies and gentlemen, we got another one for you, a juicy one. Go to humanevents.com, get this entire story. This is one of those things where it's like, doesn't the media do actual journalism anymore? What's going on here? Because this information is out in public, and yet it takes people like Human Events and independent sources to actually go and find this stuff, as opposed to the media actually, doing their jobs. So we talked about Hunter Biden and all of his foreign investments, but now, lo and behold, who do we have? John Kerry's wife, Teresa Heinz Kerry. Now, if Heinz sounds familiar to you, it should, because she is the heiress to Heinz Ketchup, to the fortune. She has millions of dollars, it's been revealed, on a new ethics disclosure in China-based investments. What's the name of the group? Tongyue Partners. Now, Tongyue Partners, I'm gonna be very clear about this, they're based in the United States, but where is their business? They invest heavily and primarily in mainland China. This creates an obvious conflict of interest for who? John Kerry. Because if these investments are all involved in China, and then he's the one who's supposed to be negotiating, of course, on climate change with China, well, all they have to do is say, hey, man, you want those investments to do well, don't you? Be a shame if those companies came under investigation. You want that money to keep flowing. Here's the deal we're gonna make, Mr. Kerry. This is why when you're supposed to have government officials, they aren't supposed to have this type of financial dealings, which, by the way, if you've been paying attention, if you remember all the stories that came out and were confirmed 100% about Hunter Biden. How is Hunter Biden tied to this, you ask? Do you remember the firm Rosemont Seneca? Rosemont Seneca was the investment partner firm that was going all the way in China. It was involved in Ukraine. It was involved in Russia. Remember the Moscow mayor's wife, all this? Who was the third partner? It was Hunter Biden, Devin Archer, and Chris Heinz, the son of Teresa Heinz. Do you see it now, folks? Connect the dots. And I want you to understand that this isn't, it's not like they're sitting in a room somewhere saying, yes, and then we'll sell out to China, and then we'll do all that. No, it's what you have is a system of elite merger. And I've talked about this at Human Events in the past. It's the axis of the elites, the axis of the 1% of the overstate, where you have the 1% in the United States, the top, the tippy top in terms of wealth, and you have the 1% in China, the CCP, and they are becoming merged. That's why the authoritarianism has come from China to the United States. Originally they said, oh, if we get China involved in the WTO, if we get China involved, et cetera, they'll become more open, they'll become more liberalized. No, of course not, you fools. You complete fools. We became more authoritarian because our elites were getting rich off of China. That's what's going on here. That's the story about Hunter Biden, that's the story about Chris Heinz, and that's the story about Teresa Heinz, who is now married to a top Biden White House official. So understand that your country is being bought and sold. Your country is being bought and sold by these people. You don't owe them anything, and you need to take a firm political stand for your country. All right, that's all the time we have here today on Human Events Daily. Again, share this out, share it with your normie friends. This is your evening briefing, where we give you the bottom line up front. Be the influence agent. But before we go, I want to leave you with today's moment in history. This week, in 1940, a Polish military intelligence officer by the name of Witold Pilecki, a member of the secret Polish army, intentionally volunteered to allow himself to be caught by a German policeman during a roundup in Warsaw, to be arrested, and he infiltrated Auschwitz, set up a resistance cell in there, and got intelligence out back to the Allies about what was going on during the early days of the Holocaust. Witold Pilecki. There are so many amazing stories out there in history, and that's why I love sharing them with you, because we need to remember who we are and where we came from. Ladies and gentlemen, you have my permission to lay ashore.
Hey there, welcome to TPUSA HQ in Phoenix, Arizona. I'm your host, Jon Root, and this is TPUSA Live. All right, let's get the party started. Here's the rundown. We'll kick off the show with the daily briefing, providing you some of the news of the day, including what 4 states aren't accepting Afghan refugees. Next, Alex Clark and our guests will chat about the celebrity elite class. We'll compare how there are special exemptions for the elites, but not for the working class. Then Charlie Kirk will join the conversation to discuss how the Supreme Court will hear an incredibly important abortion case in the coming months. Make sure you stick around for our conversation with Jason Rantz and our other guests as we provide details and thoughts regarding the Project Veritas whistleblower who released body cam footage of how we're being duped with the vaccine. Finally, Erin Elmore and the rest of the crew will tell you all about how international travel may have some stipulations regarding the vaccine, followed by one last thing. All right, hope you're ready to roll. TPUSA Live from HQ starts now.
Authentic, unfiltered, grassroots content and conversation every weekday. Live from Phoenix, Arizona at the Turning Point USA headquarters, this is TPUSA Live.
Well, welcome to TPUSA Live. We have some incredible guests on the couch right here. Founder and CEO of Turning Point USA, also host of the
Thanks
Charlie
for
Kirk
having
Show.
me today.
Welcome, Charlie. Thank you. It's always good having you.
I feel like it was compelled, right? You just say it and you show up. Come on.
You would be surprised. I just work here.
And then we got a host of the Jason Rantz Show, which is on KTTH 770 AM, 94.5 FM in Seattle, Tacoma from 3 to 6 p.m. Pacific time. Welcome back.
Thank you so much.
And then Erin Elmore, TPUSA contributor. Welcome.
Thanks for having me.
First time on TPUSA Live. How you feeling?
I'm so happy to be here, especially with you guys. A rose amongst the thorns.
Oh my gosh, okay. Those are fighting words over there, Erin. But we got to give you some of the news of the day here for the daily briefing. First off, thousands were forced to evacuate the Spanish island after a volcano eruption. We're going to show you a photo of that, a volcanic eruption that started on Sunday on the island of La Palma in Spain's Canary Islands. It actually forced evacuation of 5,500 people and destroyed at least 100 homes there. So it's never a good thing when we see national disasters like that, but no deaths or injuries have been reported. So
are we in the news cycle part where we're blaming this on global warming?
Sure.
Or are we giving it another day?
That's the inevitable.
Yeah.
Of course. But coming up next, we got President Biden's administration reveals states where Afghan refugees are headed. So 46 states will be accepting Afghan refugees. The initial group was around 37,000, but the states that aren't accepting Afghan refugees are Hawaii, Wyoming, South Dakota, West Virginia, and guess where else is not accepting Afghan refugees? Washington, D.C.
Oh, wow.
Washington, D.C. is not accepting. So they're going to disperse those Afghan refugees across all those states, and then the White House also informed state and local officials of how many refugees they will be getting. And it's an incredible thing, too, because there's a lot of Afghan refugees that actually have helped us out. So we're being told that over half of those evacuated from Afghanistan assisted U.S. operations in the country or are related to
What was hard for me about that is being from Philadelphia. We were the first city to accept the refugees, and our mayor said something like, we're not here to build walls, we're here to help people. And Philadelphia right now has the highest crime rate in the country, and there's a huge opioid crisis going on. They're calling it like the Disney World for drugs. So I wish that the governors and mayors of states like this would realize that they have citizens too within the borders of their own state that do need help.
Mm-hmm. And then speaking of governors, we actually have governors from right-leaning states that are demanding a meeting with President Biden to discuss the border crisis. So 26 governors came out across the country and they're urging President Joe Biden to do more to address what's going on at the border. Obviously, we got the border czar, Vice President Kamala Harris. She's nowhere to be found. We heard that she's going to be joining The View, but she's not going to be joining the fight against what's going on at the border. So this is led by Governor Doug Ducey of Arizona, that we know well around here, Governor Greg Abbott of Texas. We also have Governor Kim Reynolds from Iowa and Governor Bill Lee of Tennessee. So this is what they had to say. As chief executives of our states, we request a meeting with you at the White House to bring an end to the national security crisis created by 8 months of unenforced borders. Because what we're seeing, this problem just keeps getting worse, and we're not seeing our leaders step up.
Yeah, because they don't have any solution here, and I think that's by design. It's possible that Vice President Harris tried to come back into the country the legal way and has been stuck at the border the entire time. She can just illegally cross. She'd probably get in much faster.
Probably.
And then what's been your response to this, Charlie? Because obviously we saw in July there was over 200,000 that took into custody. There was over 200,000 in August. Yeah. This is a crisis we see at the border.
Yeah, I'm glad to see them writing letters. I think it's time for these governors to actually mobilize the National Guard and start executing arrests and defy federal authority and say DHS and Border Patrol has betrayed our state. I mean, that would be unprecedented, only if you don't remember what Portland did when they said federal agents aren't allowed in Portland to enforce federal immigration law. So if cities can become sanctuary cities and states can become sanctuary states, then Texas can become a secure state. And they should start arresting illegals that come into their state. So yeah, you could write letters all day long. Congratulations. It does nothing. Stop asking Biden for help and start taking leadership.
Yeah, so I know Governor Abbott, it's a situation that we've talked about so often on this show since we launched, about the crisis every single day, and then what Governor Abbott has had to do, sending out cars to just blockade that area too. So it seems like it's putting these states in a very, very bad spot. But finally, we have Pope Francis ordering COVID vaccine passports for Vatican visitors. So he came out and said visitors, tourists, and employees who want to enter the Vatican territory will be requiring COVID passports beginning on October 1st. You got to show proof of vaccine, recovery from the coronavirus, or a negative COVID test. So you guys planning on visiting the Vatican anytime soon?
I've been to the Vatican, and maybe it's because I'm a Jew, but I was just very bored. It was just not all that interesting.
I wouldn't use that word.
It was
Vatican's
boring.
a lot of things, not
It's
boring.
beautiful.
Boringly beautiful.
There's way too many people. You can't see anything because the crowds are too big.
Now it's going to be a super spreader religious event.
Although not anymore, because now you got to show the passport.
But coming up next, we got Alex Clark joining us. She's going to talk about the difference between the elite and the working class and some exemptions that celebrities in LA got for the Emmys. It's crazy stuff. We're going to go over that soon. See ya.
In these United States of America, this great country of ours, we American Indians, we can be anything we want to be, except American Indians.
A lot of the soldiers were very aggressive, so the women did get raped.
What we call huelte. Huelte means a place of suffering, dying, starvation, nothing good. Just like the Nazi concentration camps.
I didn't realize how corrupt things were. I didn't realize what kind of environment we were living in.
We had no running water, we had no power.
They de-incentivize people from, opportunity.
That's why our suicide rate has climbed at astronomical rates.
I moved from the poorest county in America, the Pine Ridge Indian Reservation, to the richest area in the country, the Navajo Indian Reservation. There is no difference. The poorest and richest reservations in our nation suffer from identical problems. This is not anything new. This is an everyday occurrence in all tribal governments.
So my life and my tale and my truth has been to fight socialism. And I'm hoping that I can wake up as many Navajos as I can to tell them that you can do this. Yeah, even if I have to fight you to save you. And I think that's what I'm also projecting to my people. Even though they are so harsh on social media and they completely hammer at me, I tell them, I'll be here even if I have to fight you to save you.
Welcome back to TPUSA Live. We got Erin Elmore, TPUSA contributor, CEO and founder of Turning Point USA, Charlie Kirk, and look at who we got now.
What up, gang?
We got the host of The Spillover and Poplitics, Alex Clark. This is your bread and butter. We're talking about pop culture stuff right here, right now.
Lay it on me.
So there's obviously a difference between the elite and the working class. We saw two events over the last week. We saw the Met Gala. We talked about that. We actually had a great conversation with Charlie and some of the boys. Because obviously, like, we're the fashion
Of course.
police around here, so we had to talk about that.
Charlie is the fashion authority.
All I care about.
It keeps him up at night.
I study it intimately.
But if you saw the Emmys, you were wondering, just like the Met Gala, you have people that are just getting all these photos or dressed up in some wonky outfits, but you have the help that is masked up. And then you watch the Emmys and you see all the celebrities here, all the actors and actresses, directors, everybody that's there, they're not masked up. But everybody that's helping out, you have to be in a mask. If you're right down the road and you're going to school, you gotta be masked up. You go to a restaurant or bar, you gotta be masked up. But this is what actually the LA County Department of Public Health told the CNN reporter Oliver Darcy, that the maskless Emmys were not in violation of their county's mask mandate because exceptions are made for film, television, and music productions. Alex Clark, this is your time to go off.
Okay, well, so thank you for that. I just feel like it's never been more apparent that it's really not about leftists versus conservatives anymore. It really is about the elites versus the normies.
The plebes.
Yeah, the plebes.
We're the plebes. Help me, I'm poor.
That's really all this is. And what's interesting to me is that the left has always tried to brag and put conservatives down and say, we're the people for the working class. We care about the little guy. And it's never been more apparent that they do not. Yeah. They do not. They treat them so horribly and they don't care. And it's almost like they get off on rubbing it in everyone's faces. Look what we can get away with. And it makes me sick and it's so sad. And I just feel like it's so disrespectful to the people that help them because, you know, they are nothing without their staff that helps them get to do all these events and dress them for these things, whatever they're doing. But it just made me sad seeing all those people standing in the sidelines having to be masked, or the waiters at the Emmys having to be masked. It was terrible.
But because they are celebrities, they have this inflated sense of self. They think they are massively important. Their egos are completely out of line, and they think, I am entitled to do this. This is a part of me. Let me entertain you.
Yeah.
And it's really sad because the rest of us have kids in schools, have jobs that we have to wear masks all day, and it's not right and it's not fair and it's completely wrong and hypocritical.
I guess the real question is, which one is the Emmys again?
TV awards.
Yeah.
People still watch TV?
People are definitely not watching.
I mean, most of the shows that are winning awards are the ones that are on streaming.
Well, yeah, they said like Ted Lasso. What in the heck is that?
I have no idea what that is either.
It's a new comedy show, and it has Jason
Sudeikis,
yeah. Big mustache, but
that
it's
guy's
like a comedy.
so overrated.
I couldn't agree more. Yeah.
But I've heard a lot of people love that show. I actually haven't watched it yet.
I haven't watched it yet.
What's it about? Do we know what it's about?
So
I don't know.
Isn't it about like a weatherman or something?
No, he becomes a soccer coach.
Actually, yeah,
weatherman, soccer coach.
I said, if you give us $1,000 to tell you the show's about, we'd all lose.
Everyone's been talking about that show. Queen's Gambit won a bunch of awards. I did watch that. That was phenomenal.
Which one is that on?
Queen's Gambit is on Netflix about that
That would
girl
be
that
why.
becomes a worldwide
Chess
sensation.
I've heard about
You would like it. I know you would like it.
Yeah, I've heard that through,
See?
other people.
And what
so
else?
that's what we're talking about, is a celebration of television.
Ted Lasso.
This is how irrelevant these people are.
Yeah.
They think that like the world centers around them. I get the Oscars and the Emmys. What was the other one? The Met Gala?
Mhm.
Getting
Yeah.
Met
Gala, yeah.
Completely
$30,000
irrelevant
a ticket.
people.
Yeah, but like we were talking about with the rest of the crew in the first week at TPUSA Live, it does feel like the Hunger Games.
Yeah.
It really does. Like, you hear something like this, like the LA County comes out and says, like, well, there's an exception. Like, we're supposed to be like, oh, okay, that makes sense.
Yeah, yeah.
It's like,
Checks out,
but-
totally checks out.
Yeah, but you have to really fight back against this kind of hypocrisy. I mean, you're talking about Charlie, like, people aren't watching this stuff anymore.
Yes.
Like we brought up
well,
in the
meanwhile,
first-
your child must be masked at will,
Mhm.
and Ted Lasso, whoever this guy weirdo is, gets to walk around without a mask and get an award for a show that no one's ever heard of. Like, there's something wrong with. I mean, at least be a good actor to go maskless. Like Clint Eastwood, he's fine if he doesn't wear a mask. Like,
that's how you get off his lawn. That's for sure.
Yeah, but like Ted Lasso, he should wear 2 masks.
He'd be double masker, totally double masker.
In the next season of Ted Lasso, we need him double masked.
Yeah.
Totally.
That's what we're hearing. But there was over 800 celebrities that were gathered in this enclosed tent. So I think that's part of the story, because you have Seth Rogen that comes out there and they're just making a joke about this. And obviously they're comedians, so they're going to try to make light. But coming out and saying like, well, you know, I was told this was outside, but it's a classic outdoor-indoor situation. And
Air conditioning. And
yeah.
The problem is what Seth Rogen was trying to do is like a Ricky Gervais thing. That everyone is trying to copy the Ricky Gervais thing from a few years ago, because that was such a massive hit. That went so viral. Everybody loved that he was calling out the elite. So they were like, Seth, get up there and make fun of the fact, haha, that we're all sitting around and, you know, we're in this enclosed space and we're not wearing masks. And it's like, okay, well, that only works when you're not somebody who's constantly out there preaching all these leftist talking points. Seth Rogen is insufferable on Twitter. So he can't be the one to go out there and clown on them, because he is one of them.
Correct.
But Ricky Gervais doesn't participate in that BS. So we will accept it from someone like Ricky, not Seth.
100%.
Yeah. And actually, Ricky believed what he was saying. Seth actually was just kind of just a. I don't think Seth's very funny. I think Ricky Gervais is hilarious.
Hilarious.
See, I actually know who he is.
Seth Rogen is just a pothead. Like, literally, he's just a pothead.
I was going to go there, but I knew
Yes.
Andrew was going to put his hand. He's a miserable pothead.
Yeah.
Well,
and
that's
not
what-
very funny either.
Not funny.
His only shtick is like getting super high and like doing
Literally.
a video
Pineapple
about it.
Express
Yeah.
for life.
And now he's like thin,
That's
so it
his
doesn't
shtick.
work as well.
But hasn't he made like the whole lifestyle of weed though?
He
talks
sells
about
it
it all
as a
the time.
service. You could
Yeah, he
buy
does.
it or
See?
just delivered to your
See,
house.
I'm not wrong about that.
Yeah.
Yeah, but when Ricky Gervais
I'm gonna
came
take
out,
your job soon.
the new host of
Lasso,
Poplitics, Charlie Kirk.
Pineapple Express, weed on demand.
But when Ricky Gervais came out and said, you are in no position to be lecturing anybody, just get your award and get the heck out of here.
Yeah.
I feel like that's what we need to hear. Like, if they actually want ratings to start going up and more
Yeah.
people to watch and more people to actually care about them as people instead of just what they do on film and television, maybe you should just stop lecturing people.
I mean, you all had a maskless guy who's kind of a jerk, yelling at other maskless people. Doesn't really play.
Yeah, but we're seeing just hypocrisy all over the place. So other examples, you have Governor Gavin Newsom, French Laundry. You got President Obama's birthday party.
That was different. That was different. That was a sophisticated, vaccinated crowd, you guys.
Excuse me.
Totally different.
So the question is, how many times are we supposed to see celebrities, political elites, all participate in all these different events and activities that we're told not to, and we still believe what they're saying about the severity of this virus? This is what I don't get. You believe this, whatever, but the people that are your so-called experts on this situation, they are not acting like they believe it. So why are you still in lockstep with these people?
Because it's a religion, it's a cult.
It is a religion.
This is what they need to survive. This is what makes them happy and gives them joy.
But, you know, if you are feeling the spirit, I heard that is the
Oh, yes,
exemption
London
that
Breed.
is being accepted now.
As long as you're feeling the vibes, you can
London
do what
Breed,
you want.
Yeah.
San Francisco mayor.
No,
She was
That's right.
indoors, no mask, and her answer was,
she's basically just saying, well, I was feeling the spirit. You know, Tony was there.
Tony.
Come on.
Marsha.
But
Tony, by the way, is like this old.
well, yes, the
Group.
90s, right?
Well, yeah,
90s.
but to Gen Z, who has no idea who Tony
It's
Tony
the 90s,
is.
yeah.
It was this old, like, R&B
And they weren't even
group,
really
right?
great then, by the way. No offense to Tony or Tony, but they weren't that great then.
So my thing is, when Taylor Swift finally decides to go on tour, because everyone knows that I'm the biggest Swiftie, and I want to go unvaxxed to see my girl Taylor, my excuse is going to be, well, I don't have to do it because I'm feeling the vibes.
are you feeling the spirit? Are you a Swiftie, Charlie?
Oh, goodness.
He hates Taylor Swift.
I know you
She's
do.
the worst.
I know
That was
you
one
do.
of the first things Charlie asked me when I got
don't
married.
like all
He
those
said,
breakup
do you really
songs?
like her?
What?
You don't like all those breakup songs?
I don't think she has a lot of talent. I think she's mean and like cruel and like.
No.
And I just think everyone I know who's known her says she's like the worst human being ever.
Well, I've met her 2 times, and I'm telling you that is not true.
Well, people that have really known her. So, plus I think her music is trash and garbage. She's a leftist.
This is absolute blasphemy.
She needs to shake it off and if she becomes a righty.
I really think very lowly of almost every celebrity, except Ricky Gervais. He's hilarious.
Other than
Clint
Ricky
Eastwood,
Gervais,
he's okay.
Clint Eastwood's great.
Yeah.
But
And
you like John Krasinski.
Oh, is that
Jack
he's from
Ryan?
The Office?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's okay.
You've talked about him before.
Have I?
Yeah.
You should just give a list of Charlie, like what celebrities are good and
Well, it's
bad.
like they all changed though. They all used to be super funny. Like Steve Carell used to be funny.
Not funny anymore.
No, he's not funny anymore.
Well, like I think Andrew Wilco on Patriot Radio always talks about he's like a punk rock guy. It's like now these punk rock guys like anti this, like now they're like get your vaccine and support Joe Biden, everybody.
Howard Stern.
It's like you're not punk, you're not hardcore. You're basically a conformist.
Same with Chris Rock too.
Oh wait, that logic is like crazy on me. So you get the vaccine, you get COVID, and you tell everyone to get the vaccine so they don't get COVID? I'm clearly not that smart.
We were talking about that yesterday, and one last thing. This stuff like doesn't make sense whatsoever, but we have a very important Supreme Court case that's coming up in a few months regarding abortion. We're actually going to have Charlie Kirk back, and we're going to have our other guests back to talk about that. We'll be back in just 3 short minutes.
Lipstick is red, woke faces turn blue, cinnamon rolls are queens. I've got pop culture for you. All the juicy, wormy, newsworthy 411 is coming to you every single day on Poplitics at its new home, TPUSA Live. It's like Barbie's dream house, but bigger and pinker.
This is your brain. This is your brain on socialism. Any questions?
What if I told you that this has all happened before? The riots, violence, church burning, attacks on police, destruction of private property.
My name is Sammy Steigman. I am a Holocaust survivor.
This is the reality of what happens when you have capitalism that goes to socialism.
El socialismo no funciona. El socialismo no funciona.
Welcome back to TPUSA Live. Jason Rantz is back. Welcome. Charlie Kirk, Erin Elmore, Alex Clark. So before we get into the Supreme Court case that's hearing an abortion case in December, we have to talk about a Texas physician, Alan Brand, that performed an abortion despite the Texas abortion law. So what he had to say about this was he was taught that abortion was an integral part of women's health care. The new Texas law, also known as SB 8, banned any abortion beyond the 6th week of pregnancy. And he went on to state, I provided an abortion to a woman who, though still in her first trimester, was beyond the state's new limit. I acted because I had a duty of care to this patient, as I do for all my patients, and because she has a fundamental right to receive this care. So we were talking about before, there are people that think it is actually morally correct to go against the law. And there's just this moral conundrum, which really shouldn't be a conundrum when it comes to abortion. Texas stood up, they put this in place, and then now you have someone that's defying this and actually like using some sort of moral argument that I think can easily be shut down.
Yeah, just put him in prison immediately. He should be arrested tomorrow. This is the only way you're actually ever going to change things is if people are afraid of the cost and the consequence of violating the law or doing something wrong. This guy's a murderer, and he should serve the rest of his life in jail. And he defied the law.
Yeah, and that's what it comes down to too. It's like people, they have this understanding, they just want to say clump of cells. They want to say just it's this, that, or the other thing instead of this is a human life.
The biggest problem is it's law. He said on a very morally superior tone, I was taught. Well, you were also taught probably by your parents and your educators to be cognizant of what the laws are and obey the laws. And it's very black and white. Forget the concept of abortion, which is very, very, very polarizing. We all know how we feel, and we feel the same way. But the biggest issue is you have broken the law. Period. I don't care what the law is. You have broken the law. Do we want to have a society where people break the law and do whatever they want and there's no repercussions? No, we don't. He should go to jail.
And then this case here, we're hearing about the case which will consider the legality of Mississippi's ban on most abortions after 15 weeks of pregnancy will be heard on December 1st, according to the court. So Mississippi's abortion restriction was the first to reach the court from a wave of state laws intended to challenge the 1973 Roe v. Wade decision, which declared the access of abortion was a constitutional right.
Yeah, we'll see whether or not Trump's former President Trump's picks will actually come through. We know that it's not going to be an overwhelming ruling on the side of life. We know that Chief Justice Roberts probably going to side with abortion rights. So we'll end up seeing. I'm concerned about this one a little bit, and I'm going to be concerned until I actually hear some of the questions coming of the plaintiffs, because that really does sort of tip the scales. And I know everyone says Justice Gorsuch, Justice Amy Coney, they're definitely involved. They get a little bit different once they're actually up there and making those decisions, especially on something as massive of a ruling as this.
Yeah, this is probably our sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt, but this is probably our only chance to make a serious run at Roe. We're probably going to lose. We're going to lose because of what Alexander Hamilton said, which is that the courts will always sway to public opinion. The country's not there yet. We're 55-45 on the issue in favor of life, but we need to get where gay marriage was, which was 80-20 before the courts. This whole idea that you got men in robes that are going to make independent decisions, it's a bunch of garbage. They're going to read the New York Times, they're going to watch TV, see what people are saying, and then they're going to rule. And there might be like property rights issues where they follow the law. Judges don't follow
the boring
the
stuff
law.
that you don't pay close
Yeah, exactly.
attention to.
Judges follow public opinion polls.
Yep.
They still go to country clubs. They have kids that want to go to college. And look, I think Gorsuch will be fine. But look, you're going to have Amy Coney Barrett have some sort of technicality. And here's the problem, is that this could set a precedent to reinforce Roe. And so I'm pretty worried about this.
And then, Erin, how do you feel like this is so dangerous coming up here? Because this is, like Charlie said, this is a very important time. This might be our only run for a very, very long time.
Charlie put it more practically and eloquently, and as a lawyer, I would say they're going to find something within the statute to make the statute null and void. There are ways of dealing with statutes. You can say this piece is not okay, we're going to just take this part out and leave the rest in place. But I have a feeling there's going to be some issue within the statute in the state of Mississippi that is irredeemable, and therefore the law is going to be washed away, and then we're going to see the pink hat wearing fuzzies in Washington cheering and clapping for Roe v. Wade.
And then from a pop cultural perspective too, like obviously you have people speaking out against the vaccine right now. You have people making a difference there. I feel like people can really make a difference with abortion if they use their voice and start hitting some of the people that are actually watching Poplitics, the spillover, everything you're part of.
Absolutely. So the topic of abortion right now, and whether it is morally right or morally wrong, is so huge with young female voters. Every single time I do a Poplitics episode where we cover abortion in any way, shape, or form, those episodes perform the best. These girls, young women especially, are hungry for the truth. And the issue is conservatives have to understand that we have a lot of women, especially, that are mushy middle voters on this issue. They will say things like, well, I'm pro-life, but I feel like I shouldn't tell somebody else what to do with their body. I'm pro-life, but, you know, what about in instances of rape or incest? And so these are the people that we really need to hyper-focus on as pro-life conservatives to get them to understand that. And as soon as we can do that, we have them. But they are very concerned on those kind of hard topics when it comes to the issue of abortion.
That's the most important part of this, right? The cultural argument. Because as a practical matter, you don't necessarily want a court to overturn a law that's been established, because that can cause some uncertainty moving forward, just societal uncertainties. So you change public opinion. And public opinion was on our side for the longest time. Then we started to lose the culture wars on this particular issue, and that's where things started to cause some problems.
And thankfully this isn't a law, right? So it was a decision, but I totally agree with you. People think it's a law, so it might as well be a law, right? Because people think Roe versus Wade was voted on and marked up. It wasn't. It was an unconstitutional decision made in a very corrupt way. There was also a Doe decision that happened simultaneous with it, was just as damaging. But look, these judges will find an excuse. They'll find some technicality. They'll write some opinion that will save face with them in the pro-life Catholic community, because I think they're all the court has a ton of pro-life Catholics. Clarence Thomas, who will probably rule correctly because he's awesome. Alito, I want to say Kavanaugh and Coney Barrett are all Catholic. I don't think Gorsuch is. But if those 5 hold the line, Roe could be history. Do you actually think those 5 justices want to go down in history, want to go see the ramifications? Their homes will be firebombed. Yeah. They know that. Yeah. And because we live in a society where they will be held accountable and their children will suffer. So they'll run to the hills.
And then coming up next, we're going to talk about Project Veritas. We'll see you in a few.
What if I told you that this has all happened before? The riots, violence, church burning, attacks on police, destruction of private property.
My name is Sammy Steigman. I am a Holocaust survivor.
This is the reality of what happens when you have capitalism that goes to socialism.
El socialismo no funciona. El socialismo no funciona.
Do you miss the good old days when sports were just about the game? If you want to go back to sports being unifying again, tune in every week where we'll expose and discuss how the left is ruining sports. My name is Jon Root, and this is Breakaway.
Do you like guns? Do you like ammo? Do you like suppressors? Do you like freedom? Do you love America? Do you like baseball? Do you like rifles? Do you like 9mm? Do you like pistols? Join me, Paige Roux, every week on Reloaded.
Welcome back to TPUSA Live. We're in beautiful Phoenix, Arizona at TPUSA HQ. Jason Rantz is back. We got Charlie Kirk, Erin Elmore. So if you're on Twitter or any social media at all, I'm sure you saw the Project Veritas whistleblower, part of the Health and Human Services insider, Jody O'Malley. She came out and she works as a registered nurse at the local Indian Medical Center. And it's incredibly brave what we saw from her. A federal employee that comes out and is blowing the whistle about what's going on, and with some allegations about the vaccine, about treatment, and that's something we want to show you right here, right now, regarding hydroxychloroquine, ivermectin. These things aren't being offered as a solution for COVID, allegedly. Let's check out the video.
Now we're just making people take it, and then there's reactions to it, and then you have a medication that has been shown effective and surely has no adverse reactions for trying it.
Dr. Bakwa talked to you about prescribing ivermectin for not allowed at this facility. And so physicians can't prescribe off-label use medication here?
Not for COVID. They did it with hydroxychloroquine, and it was really bad, and so they are not allowing it right now. I am stuck. I am told you are absolutely not to use it under any circumstances whatsoever for somebody with COVID unless you don't want to have a job. I am not going to lose my job.
Damn.
They're going to lose their job if they allowed you to use that drug.
Right. Nuts.
And it's such a damning video seeing something like this too. Like we were just talking about before, someone that performs an abortion for somebody, and then they're probably just going to get some sort of slap on the wrist, be like, you're just not allowed to do that.
They'll also
and then
get praised by the other side.
Yeah, they'll get praised by the other side. But here, it's just like, don't you ever think about offering that, bringing it up, or your job's gone.
Yeah, and the video gets worse from there too. I mean, there were questions around VAERS, there were questions around the vaccine. I know we have to be careful the way we talk about it, obviously, because we're streaming on many different platforms. But look, the essence of this story, let's just think more broadly, this should have a Pentagon Papers style impact, like 1971 style. This should be Upton Sinclair 1905, you know, the impact that the jungle had. This should be Edward Snowden level. And the reason is that this is not just some random hospital. We're in the midst of this medical tyranny, this COVID caste system. We're living through this medical industrial complex. You would think that someone blowing the whistle in the midst of all of this being like, you know, actually, no, we in the federal government have a totally different position, should be everywhere. It won't be. James O'Keefe, God bless him, has more whistleblowers coming out. The regime media is totally uninterested in actually covering this story. But I do think that it's getting to millions of people individually. And what it would take to break the matrix to actually get into New York Times, Washington Post, CNN, Apple News, and all this, I'm not sure.
Yeah, and what's so disturbing about this is that this is a doctor who's not a quack. This is a normal doctor, and normal doctors are being told now by the federal government, no, you cannot use your medical judgment on the basis of a conversation you've had and a history you have with a specific patient to use your judgment to decide the best course of treatment. And that's really terrifying here. We went from, these are our frontline heroes. We have to praise them. We have to listen to them. They're telling us they're exhausted. They're telling us to get the vaccine. Well, some are now saying to get ivermectin. Whether or not that works, I have no clue. But I'm going to have conversations with my doctor the way we're told to have conversations with our personal doctor on whether or not to get the vaccine. So you're telling me listen to the doctor only when they say something off of this pre-approved list of talking points.
Right. Well, there are instances in this country where doctors are allegedly being told and being paid, hey, if you counsel your patients about this vaccine, you will receive compensation. It can't be a direct pay for play, but Medicare is reimbursing up to 2 times normal percentages, for like 20% more if they're getting the jab. So there is a financial incentive here on so many different levels that we're talking about, that we're seeing, and it just doesn't seem that anything is about honesty and truthfulness anymore.
Yeah, the other part of the video that I found really interesting is they're kind of talking to this desk worker, and she was going around and asking, so hey, do you input these people that come in with myocarditis in the VAERS system? She's like, no, we never use that. It takes way too long. It takes 30 minutes. Now, we all know that to be true. We've been reporting that on our show. But to have this sort of bombshell video undercover is remarkable. I mean, and it is so, I sent this to a couple people I know on the left, and they're like, oh, no, it's just a fraud. It's not true. Of course. Like, this is a federal facility. Like, these people have badges. They are real people. These are real doctors. And so, yeah, I really hope people start to wake up with what's really going on.
Well, if it was a fraud, then put it out there and let's call it as a fraud.
Yes.
But unless people actually get ears and eyes on this content, Well, you can't actually do that.
And what's special about this one is the whistleblower has gone public. She's speaking, she's doing interviews. She's like, you don't understand how bad it is in here. Right. And one of the nurses who's come out says, yeah, oh no, the federal government wants people to die. Those are her words, not mine. I mean, I've been alluding to that for the last couple months, but.
But the problem is you can't undo this. You can't unring the bell. You can't put the toothpaste back in the tube. Once these Americans are vaccinated, they are vaccinated for life. And there are studies that show that vaccine side effects don't show up for 4.5, 5 years at minimum. So we don't know what we're facing down here in the future. And so many people that have made this decision based upon a doctor that's saying, hey, I'm worried I'm gonna get fired, isn't really a medical decision based upon science. It's based upon fear.
Well, and like you were saying too, like obviously the left is going to attack this, and they're just going to say this is a total fraud, this isn't what you think it is, and they're also censoring this kind of information too. So we're going to show you a still from James O'Keefe's Instagram showing what happened right after this was posted. So from there it's saying that Instagram banned the video, so this was Instagram's reasoning for taking down our new federal whistleblower recordings inside HHS. It says, we encourage free expression, but don't allow false information. This is where we got into. They are the arbiters of truth. They will tell you what you can and cannot see. So that's what he was telling people, just download this. When you see this come out, he was telling people on his Instagram story, James O'Keefe was, download this. When this part 1 drops tomorrow, download this. So you have people like DC Drano that's out there. I know he commented on that. You saw that on the Instagram photo. But download this stuff, share this everywhere. And then Project Veritas isn't even on Twitter.
Yeah.
They don't have an account on Twitter, but when
they were trending.
But they were trending on Twitter. It was an incredible thing. So tell us a little bit more about what you were covering on the Charlie Kirk show.
Yeah, so we had, her name is Lori O'Malley, I think is her name.
Correct.
And James, they joined us. We went into detail the whole
Jody
thing.
O'Malley, excuse me.
I'm sorry, yeah, Jody, I'm sorry. I knew we started at the end of the night. Too many names, excuse me. But also, the most amazing thing is James says this is a series. Next is FDA, and then we're going to have other people. And he said this is like the least exciting of what he has. And look, I mean, people don't recognize the impact James O'Keefe has in investigative journalism. It's kind of funny, when we were prepping for our radio show this morning, I asked our team, can you name one other investigative journalist that does this? And they're like, no, I can't. It's because the left doesn't do journalism anymore. And James O'Keefe, I mean, God bless him. The fact he's revealed this is amazing. My only kind of downside to this is I'm afraid not enough people will see it.
Yeah.
So what do you think is going to happen with the next part? So this is only part 1, Jason.
Well, I mean, then it's on us. You have to amplify this stuff. And the thing is,
that's true.
I want the conversation. I have no clue if some of this stuff is legit, if it is just a crazy person speaking, or if there's actual evidence. But if you're not actually to have these conversations, if you're not allowing people to share things, well, then it doesn't go anywhere. So that's on every single person here. When you have content that you trust, that you have vetted, that you think is worthy and can change minds, you have to amplify it, because we can only do so much. But if everyone started to do it, then it trends on Twitter.
And this reminds me of what you said at the rally to protect election integrity, when you're talking about how when sports teams, they win a championship, you got DVDs, if people remember DVDs.
I wouldn't know what to do with a DVD.
But you got like
recycle it.
Footballs, t-shirts, hats, everything. You want to show off that you won, and you want to have digital copies of how you got to that championship, how you won that championship. And then obviously we're seeing, we can go off about elections, but right here, right now, you have people that are censoring this.
Totally.
And they don't want to, they don't want people to see it.
It's to protect people, and it's like, no, it's not. I mean, we know it's so obviously not. It's that either the pharmaceutical companies buy a bunch of advertisements with you, so you want to keep them happy, or you have this sort of regime stance that you don't want to upset kind of where the ruling class stands on this current position. It could be any one of those things. But don't try to tell me it's for saving people's lives. I mean, I flip through Instagram all the time. I see people doing things like saving people's lives. Well, then fine, you shouldn't be able to show people drinking. Like, I mean, give me a break. I mean, this idea like, yeah, we're going to be a safety moderator. No, you're not. I mean, it's nothing more than some sort of vested interest they're trying to protect.
I mean, the 24-year-old who monitors some of the comments on Instagram doesn't know all they know.
Well, it's like the super incredibly powerful oligarch that no one voted for, that went to Caltech earning $350,000 a year in his pajamas, working from home in Menlo Park, deciding whether or not I can have a video talking about ivermectin. I'm like, you have way too much power. Like, we're a republic, and I wish I had a check and balance against you. We don't, because it's a private company like you.
But I know that's something you talk about in every single one of you on your platforms. Just you need to become a mini journalist. You need to be sharing this stuff yourself. But coming up next, international travel's back, but maybe just for the vaccinated. See you soon.
You have to ask the question, how is the most heavily funded tribe have the poorest population?
Listen to me. My country is very because everything problem here. Don't have petroleum for bus and Cuban, for car, for life, for nothing.
And it sucks. Socialism sucks. There's no other way you can describe it.
Conservative students are considered threats to American universities, but they won't stand down any longer. Join me, Isabel Brown, every week as I meet the bold student warriors who are fearlessly fighting to stop their leftist professors and peers from destroying their campuses. This is On the Front Lines with Turning Point USA.
What's up, guys? My name is Jon Root, and every week I'm breaking down the top stories in sports and bringing you conversations you won't hear anywhere else. It's gonna be a great time here on Breakaway.
TPUSA Live is about to be spicy. I mean, would you expect anything less? It's me, Alex Clark. Of course it's gonna be spicy. Tune into The Spillover, my brand new podcast. Think of it like the older sister to Poplitics with a lot more conservative. Big dog status, I'm a big dog vet. I pull up on the block in a big Corvette.
Welcome back to TPUSA Live. We got Jason, Charlie, and Erin. So it looks like international travel will be coming back, and coming back with a force. But you probably got to get the jab if you want to be traveling internationally. So it looks like the U.S. will be easing international travel for foreign visitors, and this is what the counselor to the president, Jeff Zients, had to say. He said non-citizens visiting the United States will have to show proof of vaccination and a negative COVID test taken within 3 days of departure. The new plan will end broad bans on most citizens from entering the U.S. from Europe, the UK, and other countries. So we're seeing it now, and we're going to talk a little bit what that means for domestic travel in a second. But now it's if you want to come over to the U.S., you got to get vaccinated.
You can just come to the southern border, and you don't need anything. You can just come on in.
You also get free housing, medical,
school,
the whole thing.
Yeah.
Why are we doing a vaccine and a negative test?
Money.
But isn't it remarkable how conflicting all of the messaging always is on this? If the vaccine works, and I believe the data to suggest it helps, why then are we saying on top of that you have to come in with a negative test? So does it work or not?
According to the New England Journal of Medicine, just last week, they did a study that came out, I believe, last week. It said that it's only 60% effective right now.
It might work as a treatment for certain people, but certainly not as an inoculation.
No.
Well, it's that, but that's the whole thing. I mean, just
if
from
it's
the
a
beginning,
treatment, then say it's a treatment.
Take this shot and you will not get COVID.
No.
And then all of a sudden people started to get COVID. Well, I mean, we never said
Chris
it was going to
Rock
be
again.
this is going to be some breakthrough.
You'll have a
cases.
lesser degree.
Just
Which
be
is
honest
totally
from the
unprovable.
beginning. If you made the case that if you get the vaccine, you are unlikely to go to the hospital and you're certainly unlikely to die, that would have been a good enough pitch for most people who are in the at-risk category.
Right.
But they chose not to do that because they wanted as many jabs and arms as possible. And now they're basically holding travel hostage and all of these other things, including jobs, to get the vaccine, even if you don't want to, and more importantly, even if you have natural immunity because you have recovered from COVID.
That's the biggest problem. Governor DeSantis just came out yesterday and said that 60% of the people getting his monoclonal antibodies have had the COVID vaccination. So what does that tell you? 60% of the people in his clinics were already vaccinated. Again, same number, same problem. But what you were talking about with international travel, I do believe from some travel agents with whom I've spoken, they say that Europe does rely on past infection. Why are we the only country that refuses to admit that past infection does offer you a degree of protection?
There's very little money to be made when you can just say you already had it.
Well, and then we were talking about it earlier on hour one, Isabel and I, natural immunity. If you go to that hashtag on Instagram, it will tell you, are you looking for vaccine info? It's like, no, I want to see the posts about hashtag natural immunity. And then you click on that and say these posts
You're
are
naturally
hidden.
immunized.
I am.
I'm naturally immunized as well.
Yeah.
Oh, and by the
Way
way,
to
if
be.
anyone wants to know, there's also another scam show, well, allegedly, sorry. There's something going on potentially, I don't know, excuse me. The antibody tests that just tell you yes or no, basically always tell you no. But if you get one that is a quantitative antibody test, it will tell you exactly how many antibodies you have in your system.
Yeah, it goes up to 0.5 positive, 0.5 negative, and you can gauge it from there. But that, I mean, 100 million people approximately have already had the virus, and they're naturally immunized.
And then now you have the CDC saying that airlines, hey, we need this information too. So let us know about passenger information because it's for contract tracing.
How is that going to work?
At least they're asking for it and they're not just taking it.
Well, they will.
Yeah, eventually, but I mean, come on, give them a little bit of credit for at least before breaking in and getting all that information.
I mean, the noose is tightening. I'm not getting vaccinated. Not going to happen.
Me neither.
And so I'll probably never leave the country. I love this country, so it's not that bad.
We've got good pizza here. We don't need to go.
Yeah, I mean, I love America, but then they're going to start to. I don't know. This is an open question. I don't want to make a prediction that I don't think will be true. I think they want to, but I'm not sure they're going to go to interstate bans and airplane mandates.
I really hope not.
I'm waiting for America to start to get in the streets like Australia has and start to really protest this thing.
Before we become Australia.
Which, with quarantine camps and vaccines for children.
So when we talk about domestic travel, this is what Dr. Fauci had to say regarding domestic travel. I'm not going to get ahead of the president. I told others when they asked, and I will repeat it for you, that it is on the table and under consideration. There are going to be a lot of factors going into that. I have expressed that I would be in favor of that if the president decides to, and if individuals involved in advising him are in favor of doing that, I would be in favor of doing that.
It would break the back of airlines, which might be their goal, but at least 20-30% of flight attendants are not getting vaccinated. So how's that one going to work? How are you going to run an airline like that? And then, not to mention the pilots. And yeah, I mean, this is they want to make American life uncomfortable. Why? I think we all know why.
Well, and regardless of who it's impacting, we went from having an ID is oppressive and racist, but now we're saying having proof of vaccination, which for the majority of people have to take time off of work 2 times to get 2 jabs, that apparently is not at all oppressive, and it's not wrong at all. So at least they've, again, glass half full, I'm feeling a little generous today. That's the positive part of all of this. We don't have to hear that, at least for the time being, the oppressive nature of IDs and any sort of paperwork.
The problem is that the left will just say this is air quotes different. I'm sorry to interrupt you. Oh, well, this is different because it's a global. This is different. It's always different when the argument doesn't suit their narrative. But in New York City right now, they are asking for both your Vax card and your ID.
Yeah, and that's where it's just.
That's offensive. That is racist.
People are just
Jim Crow 2.0.
People are just trying to eat. People are literally just trying to eat and go into a restaurant. You're being told you need to show a form of identification, but to vote for people in our country,
it's insane.
That's oppressive.
I think the biggest thing that these restaurateurs and business owners need to know, first of all, they're not doing it to hair salons and nail salons. So why are you special and why are you being treated differently? Second of all, the government is the one that shut you down in the beginning of this pandemic. They didn't care about you then, and now they're making you do their dirty work. What does that say about you?
Well, I think
these restaurant owners should be fighting back, but the problem is they're broke.
I think a lot of people should just be coming out and saying, "Hey, I'm feeling the spirit."
Yeah.
Just be like the San Francisco mayor. I'm feeling the spirit.
It's hard to believe we elect people like this. It's just incredible.
But coming up next, we got one last thing. We had an all-civilian flight that actually just landed, SpaceX flight, incredible feat This is the first country to ever do that. We're going to talk about that next. We're going to have Jason back, Charlie, Erin, and I hope you're feeling the spirit, because we were talking about that before.
We're not wearing masks here.
That might be the best exemption. We'll keep hounding on that. But coming up in just 3 short minutes, we'll have one last thing.
Do you like guns? Do you like ammo? Do you like suppressors? Do you like freedom? Do you love America? Do you like baseball? Do you like rifles? Do you like 9mm? Do you like pistols? Join me, Paige Roux, every week on Reloaded.
We are in a culture war for the future of America, and so far the left has been winning. But I've got good news for you. Conservative students are fighting back. Join me, Isabel Brown, every week as we meet the compelling student activists changing the future of our country. Thanks to Turning Point USA, we are on the front lines.
What's up, guys? My name is Jon Root, and every week I'm breaking down the top stories in sports and bringing you conversations you won't hear anywhere else. It's gonna be a great time here on Breakaway.
You have to ask the question, how is the most heavily funded tribe have the poorest population?
Listen to me. My country is very because everything problem here. Don't have petroleum for bus and Cuban, for car, for drive, for nothing.
And it sucks. Socialism sucks. There's no other way you can describe it.
This is your brain. This is your brain on socialism. Any questions?
Lipstick is red, woke faces turn blue, cinnamon rolls are queens. I've got pop culture for you. All the juicy, wormy, newsworthy 411 is coming to you every single day on Poplitics at its new home, TPUSA Live. It's like Barbie's dream house, but bigger and pinker.
Welcome back to TPUSA Live. It's time for one last thing. We got Jason, Charlie, and Erin. So, Inspiration 4 from SpaceX, they actually made a water landing near Cape Canaveral, and that happened just off the coast of Florida, where Cape Canaveral is, on Saturday. And this is what the dispatcher had to say on the live stream. Your mission is showing the world that space is for all of us, and that everyday people can make extraordinary impacts on the world around them. And Inspiration 4, historic, first all-civilian flight going around space. They spent 3 days circling the world at an altitude of 335 miles. So, what do you think of something like that, Charlie? Do you think it's that big of a deal?
Yeah, I think it's a big deal. I'd like to see that it's private enterprise. I have a love-hate relationship with Elon Musk. You know, I like how savage he can be against the left. I don't like how he takes government handouts all the time. He also is a little bit too futuristic for me. So I'm kind of more of a lover of antiquity than believing that things are just going to keep on getting better.
He had an interesting thing to say, though, because there was a lack of acknowledgement from President Joe Biden. And he said, what is he doing? Yeah, he's sleeping. He's not doing that.
Can we acknowledge one thing, though? Because, Charlie, you're impressed by this, and I was impressed, too. And then I realized, well, if it's an maybe it's really easy. Maybe anyone can do it. Why are we pretending that this is the most difficult thing in the world?
Were they just passengers? That's the question.
That's what they just got. One of the passengers is a local to Washington, and he wasn't originally chosen by the lottery. The person who was couldn't go because he
I've heard
was
that
like
Miss
getting a
USA
haircut
before.
that day or
Like a
something.
That's
Which
a nice
should be
haircut.
a kind of a red flag of, I was chosen. I didn't actually think I would get picked, and now that I realize it's incredibly stupid and dangerous, do you want to go? Why would you say yes to that?
I certainly wouldn't. This isn't for me. Mazel to them. I hope they're had a great time. I'm sure they saw some really nice things. I don't even like flying across the country. It's cramped. Ears pop. I'll pass.
I wouldn't pass.
You would go? You look like a daredevil.
I would go for sure.
You should enter the next lottery.
The next lottery,
You can do TPUSA live from interstellar orbit.
Yeah.
From the International Space
That's
Station.
right.
Thanks so much for tuning in to
TPUSA Live. What time is the construct and the sun never moves?
Better you than me, Johnny Root. Better you than me.
No, but I think stuff like this is very cool to see, especially compared to other countries. Like, we are the first country to do this, whether you like Elon Musk or SpaceX or whatever they're doing there, AI, all that kind of stuff can be extremely terrifying. But to see that we are the first country to do these kind of things, isn't that a feat that we should be?
Yeah, no, totally. I think it's something that used to be a connective tissue in this country, kind of in the moon race back in the 60s.
Again, let's wait for the news cycle of our space station, and the private enterprise is formed in white supremacy.
That's right.
Man,
It's inevitable.
Please tell me the cast of this characters was diverse enough, because I don't want to hear it. CNN's already on it. Cuomo's on the case.
Yeah. But glad that they had a safe landing right outside of Cape Canaveral. I think it is a very, very cool thing to see. And I think just from here, we're going to see SpaceX and Elon Musk do some incredible things. But you all are doing incredible things for the movement. We're so glad you have spent some time here on TPUSA Live. Erin Elmore, Charlie Kirk, Jason Rantz. But coming up next, we got another episode of Reloaded, hosted by Paige Roux. And then you got Breakaway, hosted by me. We'll see you guys tomorrow.
I'm sure you've heard the left mention the words gun control by now, right? Assault rifles, large capacity magazines. Well, lock and load, because I'm going to give you my unfiltered opinion on the left's attempt at an assault weapons ban. We'll debunk the misinformation surrounding AR-15s and then hit the range to shoot assault weapons. My name is Paige Roux, and this is Reloaded. Was it President Biden's goal to say the words gun control as much as possible since he took office? During his first 100 days, there was proposal after proposal targeting firearm ownership, but the media sources are claiming these proposals are meant to protect Americans from things like people who haven't done anything bad yet, but might do something bad in the future. What? How do they come up with this stuff? I still don't understand what they're trying to get at. Do they want to protect us, or are they deceiving us into just handing over our freedoms on a silver platter? As if this isn't unconstitutional enough, wait until you hear about the proposed assault weapons ban of 2021. Let me just read you the first sentence. To regulate assault weapons, to ensure that the right to keep and bear arms is not unlimited, and for other purposes. What the are these people trying to say? Ensure that the right to keep and bear arms is not unlimited? In case you can't interpret government lingo, this would limit the right to bear arms. And if I remember correctly, there's this important line that says, the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed, not shall not be unlimited. I think it's interesting that they're using the same verbiage as the Second Amendment, regulated, right to keep and bear arms. It's also fascinating that the same guy inspiring these bills says,
And if you wanted to think you need to have weapons to take on the government, you need F-15s and maybe some nuclear weapons.
Why would he say we need military weaponry to hold the government accountable, but then turn around and harshly restrict our rights to own any firearm? I'm just as confused by all the back and forth verbiage as you. So let's break this bill apart. The term semi-automatic pistol means any repeating pistol that A, utilizes a portion of the energy of a firing cartridge to extract the fired cartridge case and chamber the next round, and B, requires a separate pull of the trigger to fire each cartridge. They're right, they just make it sound really technical. This basically, what the definition means is this. That is a semi-automatic pistol. So the next term is a semi-automatic shotgun. So it's an identical definition as the pistol. And I'm going to assume that the next definition is a semi-automatic rifle. The term semi-automatic assault, hold on. I feel like that escalated really quickly. It went from pistol to shotgun to assault weapon? What about semi-automatic rifle? What the heck is an assault weapon? I need to define a couple more terms for you. A semi-automatic rifle, just like a pistol and a shotgun, fires one cartridge when the trigger is pulled. Now, the dictionary defines an assault rifle as a rapid-fire, magazine-fed automatic rifle designed for infantry use. This means it can fire multiple rounds when the trigger is pulled once. This is a firearm the military uses. You can't just buy them off the shelf at your local gun shop like you can a semi-automatic. You need to have a special license, go through a long approval process, register each gun, and ATF, which is the Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms Bureau, can come and visit you basically at any time. The military also uses the term weapon to describe any firearm we've talked about up to this point. But that's not a civilian term. So where does the term assault weapon come from? It's not a thing. The left took a word from one term and another word from a military term to create a scary expression to intimidate and misinform people into thinking all firearms are weapons capable of mass destruction. But get this, when you read the assault weapons ban, it lists 182 lines of semi-automatic firearms as semi-automatic assault weapons. As we saw with the language in this bill, the left confuses meanings on purpose, like saying AR-15s and assault rifles are the same thing and need to be banned from civilian ownership. But they're not the same thing. That's like saying a Chihuahua and a German Shepherd are equally dangerous pets to own. I have both dogs as pets, and I know that my 110-pound German Shepherd is capable of causing way more damage than my 8-pound Chihuahua. My Shepherd is an assault rifle, not an assault weapon, an assault rifle. My Shepherd is a strong, reliable being whose instincts are to protect its owner. And my Chihuahua is an AR-15. Can she bite? Absolutely she can, but every time I pull the trigger, the rifle only fires one shot. Despite the controversy behind AR-15s, they are extremely popular firearms that can be purchased same day at your local gun shop. AR-15s are semi-automatic, which means they don't qualify as an assault rifle. And guess what? I'm an American who has the Second Amendment right to own both firearms, just like I have the right to own both dogs. If you committed and kept reading this nonsense, they continue by saying, it's unlawful for a person to sell, possess, manufacture, or transport a semi-automatic rifle. However, this shall not apply to the United States government, agencies, law enforcement, military, or political subdivision of a state. Are you fired up yet? They title it assault weapons ban, but they target semi-automatic rifles. They call it an assault rifle when an AR-15 isn't one. They say they want to keep you safe, and then they infringe upon your rights. I don't know about you, but I enjoy a government that knows the definitions of terms before they put it in propositions. I need a break. Stick around for some more Reloaded.
In these United States of America, this great country of ours,
We American Indians, we can be anything we want to be, except American Indians.
A lot of the soldiers were very aggressive, so the women did get raped.
What we call Huerte. Huerte means a place of suffering, dying, starvation, nothing good. Just like the Nazi concentration camps.
I didn't realize how corrupt things were. I didn't realize what kind of environment we were living in.
We had no running water, we had no power.
They de-incentivize people from, opportunity.
That's why our suicide rate has climbed up astronomical rates.
I moved from the poorest county in America, the Pine Ridge Indian Reservation, to the richest area in the country, the Navajo Indian Reservation. There is no difference. The poorest and richest reservations in our nation suffer from identical problems. This is not anything new. This is an everyday occurrence in all tribal governments.
So my life and my tale and my truth has been to fight socialism. And I'm hoping that I can wake up as many Navajos as I can, tell them that you can do this. Yeah, even if I have to fight you to save you. And I think that's what I'm also projecting to my people. Even though they are so harsh on social media and they completely hammer at me, I tell them, I'll be here even if I have to fight you to save you.
This is the Foster Freeze Only in America story.
Hey guys, Benny Johnson here. I can't wait to hear what they have to say. Let's go find out.
I am Graham Allen, and welcome to the brand new show, Real America.
Hello. It's true. I'm a freak of the week.
What if I told you that this has all happened before? The riots, violence, church burning, attacks on police, destruction of private property.
My name is Sammy Steigman. I am a Holocaust survivor.
This is the reality of what happens when you have capitalism that goes to socialism.
El socialismo no funciona. El socialismo no funciona.
Okay, I need to calm down. Whew. So, now that we know what guns the government wants to ban, let's go shoot them at the range. So, there are 182 gun or gun features listed on this proposed assault weapons ban of 2021. And I'm using air quotes because remember, assault weapons are not a thing. We're back at Shooter's World where I'm gonna shoot some of my guns because you guys, on this list, 182 guns, some of these guns I personally own. So let's shoot them and see which ones are being banned. We're gonna start with a Smith & Wesson MP15. So remember, manufacturer and model. Smith & Wesson is the manufacturer, model is the MP15. This gun is really reliable, simple features, and extremely popular for people to sport shoot and just own for home or personal defense. You can walk into your local gun shop, do a background check, and walk out with this firearm. This is considered a rifle and is chambered in .556. Why is it a rifle? Because of the barrel length and the stock on it. So keep note of that too. Barrel length is 16 inches, and then the stock is what you shoulder the gun when you shoot. So this one is considered a rifle. Pretty cool, right? It's a semi-automatic, shoots one round at a time when you pull the trigger. So let's shoot it and see how it is. bad, right? So in the first part of the assault weapons ban, first couple pages, they mention that a semi-automatic is an assault weapon if it has a detachable magazine and a vertical grip. And what that means is a detachable magazine, meaning that this is all the ammunition that it's held, detaches from the firearm. Most firearms are like this. This one has a detachable magazine. However, it does not have a vertical grip. A vertical grip would be attached right here, and you would hold the gun like this rather than like this. So because that one doesn't have a vertical grip, I would say this one is good to go, right? I can legally own this if the assault weapons ban was a thing. Oh, but wait, they get sneaky with this. So if you go 4 pages down, there is a list of 43 specific manufacturer and models that they want to ban. And guess what number 37 is? The Smith & Wesson M&P 15. I don't understand. I learned to shoot on this gun. I pull the trigger once, the gun fires once. It's not a full auto. It's not an assault rifle. It's not used for military use as a weapon, but they want to ban it? It's an assault weapon? No. All right, next up, we have a Springfield Saint pistol. Springfield manufacturer, Saint model. This one is also chambered in 5.56, just like the Smith & Wesson that I just shot. But you're probably wondering, why is this one a pistol and the other one is a rifle? So remember, barrel length and stock or brace. This one is a much shorter barrel length than 16 inches. And this is not a stock, it's a pistol stabilizing brace. So it makes the firearm a pistol. What's so scary about this one versus the other one? Nothing. Huh. Weird. So, not an assault rifle, not a weapon. It's a semi-automatic pistol that fires the same one shot every time I pull the trigger. But what does the left call it? An assault weapon. And what does that mean? Banned. So here's a curveball for you. CZ Scorpion pistol, chambered in 9mm. So is this on the wannabe ban list? You betcha. Page 10 under AK-47s. But why? It's not an AK-47. And listen to how quiet it is and how little recoil it has. This thing's fun. But why the hell is it on the wannabe ban list? It's literally a pistol and semi-automatic. So do you see what's happening? All 3 of these guns are all on the ban list on the assault weapons ban. But what's so confusing and sneaky is that they word it in a way that you think they're all fully automatic military weapons for civilians, but they're not. They start out the ban documenting and defining what a semi-automatic pistol, rifle, and shotgun are, but then they blanket everything and hide way down at the bottom, hoping that you're not going to go that far and read it, and ban over 40 firearms, manufacturers and models specifically, that normally as Second Amendment right citizens, we're able to walk into our gun store, buy same day, and walk out. All 3 of these firearms are a semi-automatic that fire 1 round every time I pull the trigger. Read these documents in depth to protect your Second Amendment right. Now that I've run through just a few guns that are on the wannabe ban list, don't go anywhere because I'm gonna go through some tips and tricks on how to load a rifle and pistol magazine in the tip of the week. Stay tuned.
In these United States of America, this great country of ours, we American Indians, we can be anything we want to be, except American Indians.
A lot of the soldiers were very aggressive, so the women did get raped.
What we call Muerte means a place of suffering, dying, starvation, nothing good. Just like the Nazi concentration camps.
I didn't realize how corrupt things were. I didn't realize what kind of environment we were living in.
We had no running water, we had no power.
They de-incentivize people from, opportunity. That's why our suicide rate has climbed up astronomical rates.
I moved from the poorest county in America, the Pine Ridge Indian Reservation, to the richest area in the country, the Navajo Indian Reservation. There is no difference. The poorest and richest reservations in our nation suffer from identical problems. This is not anything new. This is an everyday occurrence in all tribal governments.
So my life and my tale and my truth has been to fight socialism. And I'm hoping that I can wake up as many Navajos as I can, tell them that you can do this. Yeah, even if I have to fight you to save you. And I think that's what I'm also projecting to my people. Even though they are so harsh on social media and they completely hammer at me, I tell them, I'll be here even if I have to fight you to save you.
This is the Foster Freeze Only in America story.
Hey guys, Benny Johnson here. I can't wait to hear what they have to say. Let's go find out.
I am Graham Allen, and welcome to the brand new show, Real America.
Hello. It's true. I'm a freak of the week.
What if I told you that this has all happened before? The riots, violence, church burning, attacks on police, destruction of private property.
My name is Sammy Steigman. I am a Holocaust survivor.
This is the reality of what happens when you have capitalism that goes to socialism.
El socialismo no funciona. El socialismo no funciona.
So, pulling the trigger is definitely my favorite thing, but loading magazines is my least favorite. The round is slipping all over the place, my thumbs get tired, the springs are tight, I drop rounds, it's just no fun. So this week's tip are tips and tricks on how to load a rifle and a pistol magazine. We're gonna start with a rifle magazine. So rifle magazines are a little bit easier to load than pistol magazines. However, if you just bought a rifle, the magazine can be really tight because that spring is brand new. We're gonna take our round. This is a .223 for the magazine. Back of the cartridge, back of that casing is the flat end, and then the bullet is kind of that pointed end. Now, the back of the magazine is gonna be where these little lips curve in. So we wanna match up those curves or those lips with the back of the casing. Set that in and then just press down. A little bit easier than a pistol magazine for sure. Same thing, get my cartridge, flat end of that casing towards the back, just set it on top and then push in. I like to hold the magazine with my non-dominant hand and then really use my dominant hand to push down that spring, depending on how tight or how new that magazine is. So here, push down. Another trick that I would recommend is don't load it out here and also don't set it on a table to load it because that's how your round kind of slips or falls off. Bring it in towards your body, kind of into your working space, set it on top and then push down in your working space. Last tip that I'd give you for a rifle magazine is just seat those rounds back, give it a good tap so that they're all on the back and then easily able to feed into your rifle. Pistol magazines are not that easy. This is a 9mm and a Glock magazine. Depending on how new your firearm is, or if you just bought a brand new replacement magazine, those springs are tight. So if you're wondering, what are you talking about a spring? This whole thing is called the magazine tube. This orange part is angled upward, that's the follower. So when you load your cartridges into your magazine, they're gonna be angled up a little bit, and that's so that they can feed into your chamber when you load your firearm. Now, underneath that follower, inside the magazine tube, is a long kind of curly spring that's compressed down. Now, if you just bought a magazine, that's gonna be really tight. But as you use your magazines more and as you shoot more often, definitely do that, right? As you shoot more often, that spring is gonna loosen up, making it easier to load. But this is a brand new magazine and it's tough. So a lot of people will either set the magazine on the table and load it, but then first one's pretty easy, but then it's like a round cartridge on a round cartridge and it slips, it falls off, and it makes it really difficult. My thumbs get tired. So what I do, once I have that first round in my magazine, hold it in my non-dominant hand, notice that the bullet is facing up and out. What I'm gonna do is twist that towards my body so that that bullet is facing me. In my dominant hand, I have my second round. Casing is gonna go in first, and I kind of twist my finger so I have a really good grasp on it. I'm gonna cross it like a T, push down on that spring, and then rotate my non-dominant hand and push in. So again, you can also use your non-dominant or your support thumb to help with that spring if it's really tight. Turn that magazine towards me, create a little T with both rounds, push down on that spring, and rotate in. Same thing, and if you notice, you can definitely do this with nails. Turn in, push down, make that T, and turn in. That is how it's done. Way easier, and I promise you won't need any help loading magazines. All right, if that is still hard using your thumbs, maybe that spring is really tight, this is my saving grace. It's a Lula Up Lula, and it's amazing. It's a universal speed loader, and I love it. It'll save your thumbs. It'll make it way easier to load. So how this thing works, it looks kind of awkward. It comes in different colors. Mine is pink, of course. What you're gonna do, we have the back of the magazine that's flat, and then we have the front of the magazine that's round. We're gonna match up the back of the magazine with the back of the speed loader, put it over, and you're gonna make the motions squeeze, push down, drop it in, let go. Squeeze that speed loader together, push down on that spring with your whole hand, drop that round in, flat end first, that casing in first, and then let go. Squeeze, push down, drop it in, let go. Squeeze, push down, drop it in, let go. I love it. You can practice this at home, and I hope these tricks help you so that you spend a little bit more time on range pulling that trigger instead of loading magazines. All this gun ban talk makes me want to shoot something a little bit more fun. It's time for a 2A break.
This has all happened before. The riots, violence, church burning, attacks on police, destruction of private property.
My name is Sammy Steigman. I am a Holocaust survivor.
This is the reality of what happens when you have capitalism that goes to socialism.
El socialismo no funciona. El socialismo no funciona.
Everything that you've ever
ever seen about Cuba is a lie. This is the story of the deadliest virus in the world.
I killed evil. I took out evil.
I am a Holocaust survivor.
You go out and work hard and get a job, you can become a Foster Freeze.
I overcame all kinds of adversity to get where I am today.
There's chicken right there. What about Raising Cane's?
Yeah, that works. I mean, Cain was basically the first murderer on Earth, but that works.
Hey guys, Benny Johnson here, reporting from the DMZ in between America and Chaz. I can't wait to hear what they have to say. Let's go find out.
Hello. It's pop culture without the propaganda every single day. I'm Alex Clark, and this is Poplitics.
What if I told you that this has all happened before? The riots, violence, church burning, attacks on police, destruction of private property.
My name is Sammy Steichen. I am a Holocaust survivor.
This is the reality of what happens when you have capitalism that goes to socialism.
El socialismo no funciona. El socialismo no funciona.
This is your brain. This is your brain on socialism. Any questions?
Tune in next week where we'll get to the bottom of the ammunition crisis and see what other fun training tools you can safely do at home that don't involve spending a fortune. Don't forget to like, share, and comment on this episode so I can talk 2A with you every week. My name is Paige Roux, and your firearm freedoms just got reloaded.
I've said it before, and I'll say it again. Sports should be an outlet away from politics and a place where we can sit and enjoy the game. But what happens when a retired player decides to openly share his opinions online that don't align with the woke culture of some leagues and teams? You'll find out as we talk about free speech, political correctness, cancel culture, and so much more with today's guest, World Series champion, Aubrey Huff. I'm Jon Root, and this is Breakaway. Well, welcome to Breakaway. We're sitting down with today's guest, who's a two-time World Series champion with the San Francisco Giants. He's also a Silver Slugger Award winner, and he is always unashamed and unafraid to share his politics online. Aubrey Huff, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me, John. Pleasure to be here, man.
So back in early August, let's read this off. It finally happened. The beta cucks and liberal Karens over at Twitter hate when people speak the truth or make money off their liberal platforms. That was in an Instagram post alongside getting permanently banned on Twitter. What happened?
Well, I think it was, what got me banned was basically they said it was COVID misinformation, spreading misinformation, and that's what ultimately got me. And I'm like, which one? Because I spread so many of them, right? So I didn't know which one it was. But, you know, the funny thing was the amount of papers, liberal platforms that were just celebrating my demise was just absolutely... It was like liberal tears. It just felt so good. But yeah, it is what it is.
Because that's what you said. You wear it as a badge of honor that you are suspended permanently.
I enjoyed Twitter. It allowed me to be a little bit more brash on Twitter. I like to be a little, you know.
Oh, we know that.
Toe the line of offensiveness, you know, and see just how far you can go in this politically correct world.
But whether people agree with your takes or not, I feel like this has got to be a dangerous precedent that Twitter is setting right here.
Well, what's scary is like if you can take out the most powerful man in the world on Twitter, Donald Trump, I mean, that's power that you can't buy. Well, apparently they can buy it. Yeah. But it's just scary when you have, like I said, the liberal blue-haired Karens and beta cucks that are running Twitter and Facebook that are ruining this country. And I feel like we have an attack, not only on free speech, but an attack on, more importantly, I think, masculinity, right? And that's kind of why I'm doing my T-shirt thing now is, I'm raising 2 boys, 12 and 10, and I am absolutely terrified for the future that we have here with this country, them growing up.
Well, it's kind of scary to me that we live in a world where Jack Dorsey and his gremlins over at Twitter, they say that it's too dangerous for Aubrey Huff to have a Twitter account, but the Taliban and extremist groups like that, it's totally fine for them to be on Twitter. I just don't understand the world that they live in.
I don't understand the liberal voter that voted for Biden. Like for me, like if you're seeing what's going around in the world the last 8 months, how can you with any conscience say, you know what, I'm proud of that decision. But they are so, I think, ashamed of their decision that they will never, ever admit that they would regret their vote. And they want to take everybody else down with them.
Yeah, they show their bias consistently too. And I feel like that's what I love about Turning Point. Like, you know that we're a conservative company. We're going to share conservative ideals. And then now these big tech companies, they're saying, hey, this is what we feel. And we're going to get into it a little bit later. You have teams and leagues that are saying, like, now this is where we're at politically. So if you don't align with that, you're gone.
Well, look at the Cleveland Indians. I mean, I woke, and it's funny they did this in the middle of the night, right? When everybody's asleep, you wake up and you look at the news in the morning. The Cleveland Indians, who's been around forever, who, when they were originally, they had an Indian player on their team, and they wanted to commemorate him,
Yeah, what a great way to.
Yeah, and it's called the Team the Indians. And they cancel it? They cancel Chief Wahoo, right? And the Guardians, where do you come up with that? So I actually made a T-shirt that had the logo of the Indian, and it had the middle finger that said, cancel this. I had it pre-ordered.
It's too good.
And it's my bestseller. However, I just got an interesting kind of a cease and desist from MLB to not use anymore. I'm like, whoa, 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 whoa. You guys canceled them, and now you want to not have anybody else?
You want to cancel the canceled? How does this work?
How do you want to defend your logo that you want to cancel? It's kind of a weird position, don't you think? So the hypocrisy's crazy.
And then also, too, you've said, I'll never stop, don't you Patriots. So you're constantly telling people, like, hey, it doesn't matter if I get canceled from one platform or another, I'm going to keep going. And you feel like this is inspirational for people, what you're doing?
Well, like I said, man, I hope so. I get a lot of messages from people all over the country, from social media, direct messages, blue checkmark celebrities, athletes, entertainers of all from football, NBA, all the platforms. I mean, big time actors and political pundits from Fox News, even CNN. I've got some direct messages.
CNN,
but they can't follow me now because that would look dangerous. Nobody really follows me. That's really, really conservative, hidden. They just can't.
Yeah, and I feel like that's another one of those like silent majority things where it's in your DMs. There's a lot of people that are showing support, but if they came out, that's career suicide.
Well, it's funny. It's like so many people ask me. It's like, Aubrey, you play for the San Francisco Giants, and you got banned in 2010 World Series reunion. And like your own teammates don't even want you at the reunion. No, my teammates, 90% of those guys were conservative. They loved me. It was the liberal organization that didn't agree with my mean tweets and support for President Trump. So, and that's kind of when you woke up a sleeping bear.
Yeah.
When they canceled me from my own World Series reunion, I was like, hold on, man. I was just going to retire, chill out. And then that's when I realized how dangerous cancel culture was. And then you just woke me up. I was like, okay. I'm a fighter, man. I've always loved a good fight. And in this world we live in today, what better fight to have?
At that point, it was gloves off.
Oh, yeah. Because in the clubhouse in San Francisco, I am who I am now. I'm fun-loving, I'm sarcastic, I'm witty, I have fun, I keep it loose in the clubhouse, I'm all business on the field.
Of course.
And that's how I live my life, and that's how I kind of am on Twitter. But you don't have the sarcastic undertones on social media, etc. So people get lost in that, right? And they think that I'm just this absolute misogynist, racist, homophobic pig. That's not the case.
Classic buzzwords are just going to throw out there.
I'm just having fun, making fun. It's like a comedy to me. And see how far I can go to really make people upset, right? Especially these people that are so offended that wake up every morning and just look for something to be offended. I want to see if I can kind of poke at them a little bit.
Coming up next, we're going to go one-on-one. We're going to hear a little bit more about Aubrey Huff's World Series experience. He'll get to talk a little bit more about his clothing company that promotes old school values. I'm Jon Root, and this is Breakaway.
This is your brain. This is your brain on socialism. Any questions?
have to ask the question, how is the most heavily funded tribe have the poorest population?
Listen to me. My country is very because everything problem here. Don't have petroleum for bus and Cuban, for car, for drive, for nothing.
And it sucks. Socialism sucks. There's no other way you can describe it.
What if I told you that this has all happened before? The riots, violence, church burning, attacks on police, destruction of private property.
My name is Sammy Steigman. I am a Holocaust survivor.
This is the reality of what happens when you have capitalism that goes to socialism.
El socialismo no funciona. El socialismo no funciona.
See an example of failed socialism, go to an Indian reservation.
A lot of the soldiers were very aggressive, so the women did get raped.
Muerte means a place of suffering, dying, starvation, nothing good.
I didn't realize how corrupt things were. I didn't realize what kind of environment we were living in.
We had no running water, we had no power.
They de-incentivize people from, opportunity. That's why our suicide rate has climbed up astronomical rates. I think that's what I'm also projecting to my people, even if I have to fight you to save you.
Welcome back to Breakaway. We're sitting down with World Series champion, Silver Slugger award winner, and this might be the only show that would allow you on. So we're great. It's so good to have you here, Aubrey. But let's talk about your career. You obviously won a couple championships with the San Francisco Giants, Silver Slugger award winner. Looking back in your career, how do you view that career? Was it successful? Do you feel like you did everything you wanted to do?
Everything I ever wanted to do. You know, when I was a kid, I just wanted to play Major League Baseball, right? I didn't think about making $1 million. I just loved playing baseball, and always dreamed of becoming a Major League Baseball player, and I exceeded it far and away whatever I thought I would accomplish. A couple World Series, made, which I like to brag on social media about. Whenever people rag on me, I'll just throw that career salary at them. A couple World Series, like I said, actually hit for the cycle once, which is hard to do for a guy that doesn't run very well, and an inside the park home run. So I checked off a lot of cool things in my career, and my kids got to see me play and go into the locker room. That was in San Francisco. We were like a month in the season. They brought me over to hit home runs. Yeah. And I'm hitting cleanup for the Giants. I have 0 home runs through the entire month. I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm starting to get some scattered boos. I hit a ball so far in that 421. Goes out any baseball park in the world. And it's just not in San Francisco. Hits one of the archways, boom, ricochets to the right. And I knew right then, as soon as I hit first, nobody's getting there. I'm like, whoo. You see the replay, man, my legs are going everywhere around third. And it's a pretty, I don't ever want to do it again. It's an awesome feeling, but I would never want to do it again because I'm not an athlete. Yeah. I'm a baseball player. So having said that.
That 2010 World Series. Obviously, for me as an A's fan, it was tough to see the Giants win. But in general, what you guys continued to do every single even year, believe in every single time. Was there one moment that stood out above the rest, that one specific World Series?
Yeah, the 2010 entire team. It was weird. We were called the Misfits, right? Bruce Bochy was, a legend in himself. Best manager I've ever played for.
Great guy, too.
Oh, unbelievable guy. Hall of Fame worthy, no doubt. But when I went to the Giants in 2010, I look around that clubhouse. I didn't see like a winning team, but I saw a winning clubhouse. Yeah. Each and every one of those guys, and I've never felt that chemistry before in my life, instantly within the first day going to a new team. It was just a bunch of older guys, 30, 35 years old, many of which have come from other teams that they didn't want him anymore. And I think we had that common denominator. We all had a bond. And I maintain to this day, you go out and get the most expensive superstars on a team, you got all the egos, you don't win. You don't win. When you get a clubhouse full of guys that love each other, that are baseball players, that are just grinders, you get those guys in a situation where not a whole lot's expected of you, but that's a dangerous team.
And then now let's transition to you outside of baseball.
Mm-hmm.
We talked about social media a little bit, but especially on social media, you are so vocal about what's going on with COVID.
Yeah.
Like, has there been any time where you've kind of been hesitant to share things?
You know, when COVID came out, when it first came out, I think one of the NBA guys got it, and I was like, whoa, a little scared. Even I was freaked out. Of course I wore the mask. You know, I'm thinking, man, are people going to start dying in the streets? This is kind of scary, the way the media was hyping it up. So even I was worried. But what I always had is like a really strong common sense, you know, which I think we've lost a lot in the world. Mm-hmm. I'm able to read the room, and when 2 + 2 doesn't equal 4, I question it.
Well, you heard that's racist.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Of course. Math is racist. But you know, I've never been hesitant, whether it's, you know, my opinions, my beliefs, my values, and you know, when I didn't get invited to the World Series reunion, and you know, all my haters wear me out about that. I don't need to go out on the field. I have those memories. I don't need to tip my hat, you know, to feel validated for something I did with my teammates. I've already had those memories. I don't care. And so I speak my mind. I always have. A lot of people don't like it. A lot of people do. And it's amazing now. People come up to me now more than ever, and it's never for baseball. I love your social media. I'm like, wow. It just amazes me that, you know, all the stuff that I was able to accomplish, blessed to accomplish in baseball, what I'm being known for now is social media.
Yeah.
I'm like, which I hated social media when I first started it, but you know, I can certainly.
You probably just wanted to focus on baseball.
Yeah,
it's just like, I'm here to win World Series titles. I want to win more Silver Slugger awards. That's what I want to do.
Yeah, that's what's crazy about a lot of players today. They are so branded. Mm-hmm. They brand themselves on social media, which, you know, I never did when I played, which I probably should have done, because I'm looking at it now, these guys are making millions on social media, and it's become a really big money-making platform.
And speaking of making money, you've been making some money off this T-shirt company. You're rocking that Alpha American. You talking about, you stand for old school values. You want to stand up for masculinity. And with all this talk about toxic masculinity is just plaguing our society, how do you feel like your company and yourself is pushing back on that?
Well, yeah, I mean, like I said earlier, like when I got canceled for my reunion, that woke me up, man. I just realized how powerful cancel culture was, and how, you know, nobody's pushing back. I see a lot of women pushing back to what's happening around the world today, a lot more so than men. When I go to rallies, I see a lot more women than men, and it's like, this is interesting. And I feel like we just don't have enough men who's out there. Now granted, I'll say this, a lot of men work, and there's a lot of conservative men that go out there and work every day, and they don't have that voice to be able to say something because they know they get fired, can't put food on the table. I get that. I'll be that voice. I don't have no problem with that, no problem. But yeah, I mean, I've had it with just seeing like this administration, how weak it is, how soft it is. All of our politicians, seemingly, even on the Republican side, they're old, frail guys that can barely walk, and we need some like old school, traditional alpha male values, right? I think that's the only way we save this country. And who are they attacking, right? It seems like the biggest attack on an individual today is the strong, patriotic male. Mm-hmm. And you know, it starts, I think, in our school systems and through our children, through our boys, and it goes all the way up through work, and it's an epidemic. That's the real pandemic.
Yeah, and I think with sports too, like that's a great way to bring out masculinity, values, really making sure that like you're working as a team, and the kind of values that we're constantly hearing about in sports that we need to get back to. We don't need to hear about politics anymore. We need to hear about these values and how we can build up these men. So I think what you're doing has been incredible with that T-shirt company and just being unfiltered and unashamed to sharing your views. Cancel culture, it plagues our society, and this guy got canceled from his 10-year World Series reunion. We're going to dive into that a little bit more next. I'm Jon Root, and this is Breakaway.
In these United States of America, this great country of ours, we American Indians, we can be anything we want to be, except American Indians.
A lot of the soldiers were very aggressive, so the women did get raped.
What we call huelte. Huelte means a place of suffering, dying, starvation, nothing good. Just like the Nazi concentration camps.
I didn't realize how corrupt things were. I didn't realize what kind of environment
We had no running water, we had no power.
They de-incentivize people from, opportunity. That's why our suicide rate has climbed up astronomical rates.
I moved from the poorest county in America, the Pine Ridge Indian Reservation, to the richest area in the country, the Navajo Indian Reservation. There is no difference. The poorest and richest reservations in our nation suffer from identical problems. This is not anything new. This is an everyday occurrence in all tribal governments.
So my life and my tale and my truth has been to fight socialism. And I'm hoping that I can wake up as many Navajos as I can to tell them that you can do this. Yeah, even if I have to fight you to save you. And I think that's what I'm also projecting to my people. Even though they are so harsh on social media and they completely hammer at me, I tell them, I'll be here even if I have to fight you to save you.
What if I told you that this has all happened before? The riots, violence, church burning, attacks on police, destruction of private property.
My name is Sammy Steigman. I am a Holocaust survivor.
This is the reality of what happens when you have capitalism that goes to socialism.
El socialismo no funciona. El socialismo no funciona.
Welcome back to Breakaway. We are going to talk about cancel culture. Obviously, we got Aubrey Huff here, producer Brian. Welcome back. Cancel culture found its way to you. You were uninvited from the 2010 World Series reunion in what team executives called unacceptable social media comments, to where you responded and accused the club of politically correct, progressive BS.
Well, ironically enough, that year in 2010, I was 7th in the league in MVP voting, hit the middle of the lineup. I felt like, I kept it loose in the clubhouse. The media loved me. The fans loved me. I was a hit in San Francisco. For you guys listening, every 10 years when you win a World Series, you come back 10 years later, have the whole team come back and celebrate on the field and give you a little hat tip. And it was around January that year. And I got a call from Larry Baer, the CEO of the Giants. I'm thinking to myself, oh, hey, there's Larry. So I answered the phone. I was in the gym. Endorphins are flying high. And he says to me, Aubrey, hey, unfortunately, I hate to say this, but it's a unanimous board decision. We're going to have to uninvite you to the World Series reunion. I thought, is this an April Fool's joke? I kind of laughed. Come on, Larry. Come on. Because we mess with each other all the time.
Because you're not hearing this from any of your teammates or your ex-coaches. You just have Larry call you and say.
Larry, out of nowhere. And I'm thinking to myself, Larry, are you serious? He said, yeah, Aubrey, I'm sorry. There's nothing I can do. The board was unanimous. And I'm like, whoa. Hold on. For what? And he said, well, they found your tweets are very offensive. And I'm like, whoa. I tweet words and I'm uninvited in my World Series. Come on, bro. Are you serious? And I was hot. And I said, hold on. This doesn't make any sense. Does this have something to do with my support for Trump? Like 80% of my tweets at that time were like 100% Trump.
You're like, cut the BS. Let's talk about this for real.
Yeah. He got really quiet for about 5 seconds. Well, we get a little bit of that from the fans calling in and whatever. We get some backlash, but that's not the whole thing. I'm like, oh, come on, that's all of it. So that was pretty much in the nutshell. Now, the funny thing is, my teammates, they all pretty much think like I do on that team in 2010, which everybody else in San Francisco don't believe. I mean, so I'm not going to name any names, but just put 90% of that team, pretty much the same values I have.
Yeah. Man, it really goes to show you how much 10 years can change the political landscape of, and obviously how much it's affected sports. I mean, you went from being a fan favorite to they don't want you around anymore.
It's crazy. In the last 10 years, what I've seen the transition in sports, it's unbelievable and how unpopular it's becoming all across the board, whether it's baseball, NBA, football, whatever. And I think it's all happened with this social justice warrior nonsense, right? The average fan, who typically is the male beer-drinking American, who wants to come to the...
Amen, brother.
You're right. Who wants to go out and drink some beer, chuck some beers with his buddies, and watch men hit each other on the football field. They don't want to see their favorite athletes kneeling for a country that they love. They're force-fed this political narrative, this social justice warrior nonsense daily at work, on TV, on commercials, everywhere they look. They want to go to sports and they want to unwind. And when they see their athletes do that, they lose respect. They don't want to go. And you see it in the ratings. I was a diehard watching NFL. I can't watch anymore. I don't. I refuse to.
No more NFL at all.
No. That's how you got to hit. That's how you attack this stuff. You just got to turn it off, right? I don't care what your favorite team. You love Tom Brady, how he looks in his pants. I don't care. Just you got to turn it off. Turn it off. That's how you win this war.
Yeah, that was my next question then too. It's like, how do conservatives combat this? Because in general, like, sports are my job, Brian's job, a lot of our jobs. So, like, I watch sports because that's a part of my living. But there's other people out there where if it's not associated to your living, you're basically telling them just turn off the television, stop watching until they change.
Don't buy the jerseys. Don't buy any memorabilia. And what people don't know is when you go to a game and you don't have a lot of attendance, it's not going to hurt the ownership. Not really. Maybe concessions. But where these teams make their money is television revenue. But if the viewers aren't tuning in, then that eventually goes away as well. So I think that's where you got to not only not buy merchandise, but turn the TV off as well.
And you've also said cancel culture is alive and well, targeting only pro-God and pro-American conservatives. Why do you think that is the target consistently?
Well, I think what Trump did when he came in, that opened. I wasn't political when I played at all. I was definitely conservative, but I didn't really care who was president.
You didn't really have to be. You just had to play ball.
I just wanted to hit bombs and cash checks, dog. You know what I'm saying? So, and that's what I did. And so, when I got out of baseball, I kind of started paying a little bit more attention. I just was fascinated at how the media and everybody treated Obama. He was a rock star. He was a celebrity. He wasn't a president, right? And I'm like, wow, this is fascinating how this guy is really popular. And then Trump comes along, and just weeks prior to him entering the race, he was the American dream. He wasn't racist. Everybody loved him. Everybody wanted to be Trump. And then all of a sudden he wins. Now he's the biggest racist ever. The media hates him. Everybody wants him out. Impeach him immediately. What? Like I said, I'm common sense smart. That didn't make sense to me. So I'm sitting there thinking, wow, this is interesting. And I realized through Trump, as a guy that considers himself a Republican, I realized that I think sometimes we miss the fact that Democrats and Republicans, there's some really evil players on both sides that when he came in, it really threatened their way of life and their power, and they all needed to get him out. Now, there's some good eggs, no doubt, but I think through Trump, I just realized myself just how scandalous it can be on both sides.
One thing's for sure, you never back down at all, and you're telling people to push back. Cancel culture is something that's absolutely plaguing conservatives, but I think a lot of people look to you. They said, I might have to just pull a little Aubrey Huff. I might have to just go out guns blazing. And we're gonna go guns blazing in this next segment. 40-second shot clock. You're gonna be in the hot seat. Rapid fire question. I'm Jon Root, and this is Breakaway.
What if I told you that this has all happened before? The riots, violence, church burning, attacks on police, destruction of private property.
My name is Sammy Steigman. I am a Holocaust survivor.
This is the reality of what happens when you have capitalism that goes to socialism.
El socialismo no funciona. El socialismo no funciona.
You have to ask the question, how is the most heavily funded tribe have the poorest population?
Listen to me. My country's very because everything problem here. Don't have petroleum for bus and Cuban, for car, for drive, for nothing.
And it sucks. Socialism sucks. There's no other way you can describe it.
Here we go. It's the 40-second shot clock in the hot seat. Aubrey Huff. We also got producer Brian back. 3, 2, 1. Here we go. Favorite follow on Twitter?
Candace Owens.
Toughest pitcher you ever faced?
Pedro Martinez, hands down.
If you could play catch with anyone in history, who would it be?
My dad.
Least favorite American city?
Oh, Baltimore.
Who's the greatest baseball player of all time?
Nolan Ryan.
What's your favorite song of all time?
Amarillo by morning.
Who's your celebrity crush?
Scarlett Johansson.
Hey, yo.
Same.
If you ever get divorced, Scarlett, look me up.
If you could have any superpower, what would it be?
To fly.
Oh.
Last question. Favorite way to relax after owning the libs?
With a beer.
What kind of beer?
The Liberal Tears Brew.
Ooh, all right. We got to work on getting a sponsorship, but that is the 40-second shot clock. Well done, Aubrey Huff. There we go. Producer Brian, always a good job. Well, that's it, folks. Aubrey Huff, thanks for joining us. Producer Brian, it's always a good time. Yeah, baby. Make sure you join us next week to meet another sports star for an authentic, unwoke sports conversation you won't hear anywhere else. Don't forget to like, comment, and share this episode so we can keep the conversation going all week long. I'm Jon Root, and this is Breakaway.